is you have to put the work in behind the scenes so that you're ready when that magic door does open. My name is Steve Quillian. I own Wood Window Makeover.
Good morning, gentlemen. Good morning, citizens of Tampa. Tampa City Council will now come to order for February 17, 2022. We will have a moment of silence for the invocation this morning, so we'll stand and we'll go into the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Roll call.
Carlson.
Here.
Maniscalco.
Here.
Dingfelder.
Here.
Citro.
Here.
Vieira. Miranda,
Here.
and Goose.
Here.
We have a physical quorum.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Clerk. Mr. Shelby, if you would, please, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of City Council. Martin Shelby, City Council Attorney. Today is Thursday, February 17th of 2022. We're here at Old City Hall, and this meeting of the City Council is being conducted with a live in-person quorum of the City Council present in City Council chambers. However, in light of continuing COVID-19 government-issued health standards or guidance in effect, members of the public shall have the ability to participate virtually through video teleconferencing, referred to by Florida statutes and rules as communications media technology. The public and the citizens of the City of Tampa are able to watch, listen, and view this meeting on Spectrum Channel 640, Frontier Channel 15, and on the internet at tampa.gov live stream, one word. Members of the public have had opportunities to be able to communicate through alternate means, including sending comments by email, U.S. mail, and also there's the opportunity to speak remotely during public comment with the use of CMT. And that is done by pre-registering, and the instructions to do that are in the notice on the City Council's webpage at tampa.gov/City Council, and also, as contained in today's notice, there is the ability to participate by using CMT available at Old City Hall. Those individuals who do not have access to a communications media technology have the option of coming here to Old City Hall on the second floor at 315 East Kennedy Boulevard. And please note that use of masks and social distancing inside the building are encouraged. To participate in land use and alcoholic beverage public hearings, pre-registration is also required, particularly for those that are set for public hearing. Again, the instructions are available on the City Council's webpage at tampa.gov/City Council. The public should note that in order to participate in quasi-judicial matters remotely via CMT, cell phones and smartphones are not compatible, as they will not allow you to share your camera when connected. You must have access to a communications media device such as a tablet or a computer equipped with a camera and microphone that will enable you to be seen by video and heard by audio by the City Council and all other participants. Written comments must be received no later than 24 hours prior to the hearing to be distributed to City Council timely. And those documents that have been distributed have been uploaded and will be made part of the record. This being the case, Mr. Chairman, I ask the Council waive its rules to adopt the virtual hybrid rules as set forth in the notice.
Motion to adopt. Okay, we have Ms. Maniscalco, Mr. Dingfellow, all in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Motion granted. Thank you, sir. Approval of the agenda. We'll go through the items. We go with Mr. Shelby.
Yes,
I think item number 1 is being moved to March 17th.
I believe that is that on the addendum, Madam Clerk?
No, it's item number, just going through the agenda.
Item number 1.
All right, motion by Ms. Maniscalco, second by Mr. Carlson. All in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? Motion granted. That's taken care of.
Now, with regard to the approval of the agenda and the addendum, Mr. Chairman, did you want to go through those?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, Mr. Chairman, at your request per your memo on the addendum, there is a mention of the fact that there is an administration update that you've requested. And I believe, I don't know whether you've had an opportunity to speak to the Chief of Staff, but at what point in time did you want to take staff reports? Did you want to take up that item?
That item will be taken up at 1:30 in the afternoon, under administrative updates as normal. And again, gentlemen, I asked for that to be put in the administrative updates because of all of the controversies going on in the city surrounding the police chief. A lot of council members have been getting numerous phone calls, robocalls, and of course, this body cannot meet, cannot talk outside to each other unless we meet collegially. So that's why I wanted to go ahead and they have the administration explain to us what's going on with this police chief situation and many questions the council members have for the administration and also for the legal department, Ms. Grimes, to come forward to also explain this charter because several council members also have concerns about the interpretation of the charter. So with that being said, That will be done, Mr. Shelby, at this afternoon, sir.
1:30?
Yes, sir.
Okay, with regard to the other administrative, the staff reports, did you want to see if you want to have any council members?
We can go through that right now.
Yes, sir.
On number 77, I'd like to continue it to October.
Item number 77?
Yeah, because the principal that we're dealing with just had a baby, and she's going to be out of pocket for 3 months.
Okay.
Is that the issue regarding the Port Tampa City?
Yes.
And, because there was a request from staff to May 5th, you're requesting which date then, council?
Why don't we make September if we could? September 1st?
That'd be good. That'd be good.
Move to continue item number 77 to September 1st.
Second by Mr. Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion granted. Item will not be heard today. Move to September 6th.
September,
September
First.
1st, I'm sorry, September 1st.
thank you.
All right, item 76, the nuisance abatement. Yes, I want to hear about that.
So you're asking for staff to be present for that?
Yes, I want to hear about that. Yes, sir.
Staff on 76, 77 we took care of, 78, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody on 78, the sidewalks? Mr. Vieira is not here, so if he can pick that up later on. 79,
Yes, most definitely.
okay, he wants that to be heard. Number 80,
Yeah, I'd like to hear from staff.
want to hear for staff. 81,
Same thing, these are together.
okay, yeah, 81, okay, all right,
80 and 81 are together,
okay.
and staff on both?
82,
Yes.
83. Yep,
Oh, I see that. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
all right, move to continue that. to
Wait,
23rd.
Just,
Yes, sir.
can we discuss it?
Yes, sir.
When you say discuss it now, at this point, or?
Yeah, this is an extremely important item. I don't think that we should be putting it off for 5 months. You know,
May we
we got a chlorine plant that's already constructed in the middle of thousands of houses, of apartments that are going up.
I'm sorry to interrupt you,
I think
sir.
for litigation, I think I was told 82 is about litigation, Mr.
If it
Shelby.
involves litigation,
Involves
yes, I
litigation.
suggest that council, if you
Yes.
wish to hear from the legal department at 82 when we take it up, then we can discuss it then.
No, I just don't want to put it off for 5 months. If we can put it off till March and keep a little heat under the fire to get this thing done, then I think that would be better, as opposed to just pushing it off for 5 months.
Well, then why don't we hold this item for number 82 to have staff appear in
Yeah.
Ms. Wells, and she can discuss this with
Yeah.
council.
We'll,
Thank you.
We'll hold it, Kate, we'll hold it for 82, and we can go through it then. We'll hold it for later on this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so we will hear 82. All right, 83,
Yeah,
You good with
I don't
that?
need a staff report, but I do have a motion associated though, so we'll just leave it.
all right, we'll leave it. 84,
84 is the Tenant's Bill of Rights.
Yep.
That was placed on the agenda,
Mr.
council,
Vieira.
at the request of Mr. Vieira, who
That's
was
correct.
not present at the time of the vote. So it is being brought back onto this agenda for the purposes of a motion to reconsider, in which case you'd be in the position to be able to take action on it if you do wish so, in that it's on the agenda for first reading consideration again.
Thank you, Mr.
Councilmember Vieira is not present.
Thank you, Mr. Shelby. I would like to motion to have discussion on this, to bring it back.
So my suggestion would be that when the item 84 comes up, we do a motion to reconsider, and then we can bring
Thank
it
you.
back. Thank you.
all right, gentlemen. I think that clears it up.
Mr. Chairman,
You recognize?
I had a question to staff that, to the best of my knowledge, hasn't been answered on item 23.
23.
So I'd like to pull item 23 to
23, that is
your
your committee.
staff reports.
Yeah,
All right.
I'm going to vote no on 23, so I'd like to pull two.
23, okay. We'll make sure that's pulled. Okay,
My question is BBE related on 23.
all right. Anyone else? All right, motion approved?
If I may,
You
Mr. Chairman.
recognize, sir?
Thank you very much, sir. I wanted to make sure that the presentation on returning citizens was concurrently continued to
We've
the
already
other.
discussed that, sir.
Thank you, sir. And then the staff report on the sidewalk on 9th Avenue. We're going over whether staff needs to be there live.
Yes, sir. I left that for you, 'cause I figured you,
Yeah, you know, be available. The memo's pretty good, so I'm pretty satisfied with the memo. You know what? They don't need to be there.
Okay.
I'd like to speak on it because I'm going to make a motion on it, but they don't need to be here for that.
all right, so when we get to
Thank you.
78, you just gonna make, you don't want them, you just wanna make, you're gonna make a motion on 78, correct, sir? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, whenever the time comes, if I may.
All right, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Motion to approve the agenda? Mr. Maniscalco, second by Mr. Cross, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion granted. All right. We'll go to item number 2. I think Mr. Miranda is down. There he is. Mr. Miranda, good morning again, sir. Good morning.
Ahí estamos, okay, mira. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, honorable members of Tampa City Council. It's my pleasure today to be here with some real special individuals. The leader of the Spanish Honor Society and the teacher, Marion Dirks, and then we have 17 students that are in this program at Chamberlain. And it's something to behold to them when they speak not only one language, they speak now multiple languages. And it's an honor to present Mrs. Dirks, who will present the president of the Spanish Honor Society and the vice president of Honor Society. And then the remaining of the students will come up and say their name, and they'll say thank you, and we will have a great meeting with these from Chamberlain High School. Let me give you a little history about Chamberlain. When I went to school, there was only 3 high schools: Plant, Hillsborough, and then, of course, Jefferson, the big school. And then after that, sometimes in the mid-50s, Chamberlain came on. So Chamberlain's one of the outstanding schools in the city, and we welcome the opportunity to have these fine students from Chamberlain High School, led by the teacher, Miss Marion Dirks. Ms. Dirks?
Good morning, Marian Dirks, Spanish teacher from Chamberlain High School. It's an honor to be here today and representing not only Chamberlain High School, but my student for the Spanish Honor Society. Thank you for the opportunity.
Good morning, I'm Santiago Zambrano. It's an honor to be here. I'm a student of Chamberlain High School, and I'm the president of the Spanish Honor Society. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Luisa Loaiza. I'm a student of Chamberlain High School, and I'm the vice president of Spanish Honor Society.
Good morning, my name is Michael Santana. I'm a student from Chamberlain High School. I represent the Spanish Honor Society Club by being the secretary. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Nayeli Sosa. I'm a student of Chamberlain High School. I'm the secretary of Spanish Honor Society. Thank you.
Good morning, I am Lázaro Ramirez. I come from Chamberlain High School. I'm the historian of the Spanish Society, Honor Society. It's a pleasure to be here.
Hello, my name is Salim. I'm from Chamberlain High School, and I have a pleasure to be here. I'm from Spanish Honor Society.
Good morning, I'm Jessica Correa. I go to Chamberlain High School, and I'm a part of the Spanish Honor Society.
Good morning, my name is Kevin Matos. It's an honor to be here.
Good morning, my name is David Albernas. I'm part of the National Spanish Honor Society, and it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Greta Rodriguez, and I am a proud member of Spanish National Honor Society.
Good morning, my name is Lisette Rodriguez. I am a member of the Spanish National Honor Society, and it's my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Victor Rodriguez. I'm a member of the Spanish National Honor Society. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having us.
Good morning, I'm Carlos Esteva, and it's an honor to be here.
Good morning, my name is Alexander Soto. I'm part of Chamberlain High School, and I'm part of the National Honor Society.
Hi, my name is Aisen Herrera. I'm coming from Chamberlain High School, and I'm part of the Spanish National Honor Society. Thank you.
My name is Jan Torres. I go to Chamberlain High School and I go to the Spanish Honor Society. Thank you.
My name is Raul Avila. I go to Chamberlain High School and I form part of the Spanish Honor Society. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Stephanie Zuniga. I am part of the Spanish National Honor Society, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Good morning. My name is Daisy Carcamo. I'm from the National Spanish Honor Society, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Good morning. My name is Gisleni Campos. I'm from Chamberlain High School. It's a pleasure to be here. Good morning. My name is Jocelyn Rosales. I'm from Chamberlain High School, and I'm a part of Spanish National Honor Society. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good morning. My name is Jana Figueroa, and I'm part of the Spanish National Honor Society. Thank you for inviting me here.
Hello, my name is Bella Camacho, and I go to Chamberlain High School. I'm a part of the Spanish National Honor Society, and it's a pleasure to be here.
Good morning. My name is Evelyn Martinez, and it's an honor to be here.
I just want to say thank you for the council to take this time, and Ms. Dirks and the president and vice president, any council member wants to ask any question of them, they're here.
Mr. Vieira, you recognize? We'll go down the line.
Thank you very much, Chairman Goots. I want, Councilman Miranda, I wanted to thank you for bringing this forward. You know, it's really nice to see all these young people come up and introduce themselves and coming from such different walks. When I was, you know, seeing these young people, I kept on thinking to myself that that's Tampa. It doesn't matter if you know, they traced their Tampa roots 120 years ago or 120 days ago. That's Tampa. I'd love to sit down with, number one, to the class. If y'all ever want, I'd love to come and talk to y'all. Yo puedo hablar en español si ustedes quieren. My Spanish is decent, but the older that I get, the worse that it gets. It's probably like a C+ or B-. My late dad used to say I speak John Wayne Spanish. I think it's better than that, but whatever, right? But if you were to sit down and talk to each of these students and talk about their family journey and where they come from, you'd find people from Mexico, from Puerto Rico, Colombia, Venezuela. You'd find people from Cuba, from so many different stages. 120 years ago, Cuba, maybe 1960, maybe 1980, Marilitos, maybe freedom flights, 1965, whatever it may be. But they all have such a unique journey that takes them to the United States and takes them to Tampa. And those stories are really what make our country great. Whenever we sing God Bless America and we talk about the great things of this country, it's stories of people, the young kids that we just saw here today. They are America, and don't ever let anybody ever tell you anything different. And they are Tampa. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Maniscalco, let's hear him. Mr. Carlson.
Gracias para todos y bienvenidos. My Spanish is much worse than his, I'm sure, but I try. I just quickly, I want to thank you all because I think what you're doing is the past and most importantly the future of Tampa and our region. You all probably know that the original name of the United States was La Florida, which was created by Juan Ponce de Leon. And if you want to look at the maps, I've got the original maps from the 1500s on my wall in my office. I'll invite you all in. But if you look at the early maps, all of what's now the United States was called La Florida, and we were a Spanish colony. And the reason why we don't study that in our history books is because the English colonies wrote the history books. And if you think about it, the first language of the United States was Spanish. The beginning of Christian history, Jewish history, Muslim history, and just about any kind of history related to Europeans was a first in Florida. And the archaeologist says our native people's history here is older than most places in the United States, if not all. And so I think we need to make sure that we talk about our heritage and look forward. You all may know the story around 1930, an airline came to Tampa and wanted to build an amphibious airport just off South Tampa. And they wanted Tampa to be the headquarters of air travel to the Caribbean and Latin America. And that was because we were the main jumping off point to Cuba and Latin America with our rail and steamship, and Miami was a little fishing village. And the neighborhoods didn't want the sound of the airline, so they rejected them and told them to go somewhere else. And the airline reluctantly went to Miami, and that airline was Pan Am, and that now is the American Airlines hub of Latin America. And there have been many other opportunities that we lost over the years. But as we look forward, I've traveled extensively in Latin America. The folks in Latin America, CEOs in Latin America, want an alternative to Miami. and they love Tampa, and they want Tampa to be their headquarters. We can be the next capital of the Americas if we focus on it. And you all, I say that because we want you all to go to college, come back, and you all start the businesses and work on the nonprofits that will tie us to the European history and heritage of Latin America, the indigenous history of Latin America, and the future of how we grow our two regions together. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Lo siento, mi español no bueno, so if I could, I'd rather speak in English. Congratulations on everything you've done. Please remember that your education was here in Tampa. And always remember, no matter where you go, where you further your education, you will always be Tampeños. Now, to Councilman Carlson's point, what will make this an international city will be international banking. Go to college. Get your education. Help bring that international banking by using the languages. Language is, you know. Congratulations to you.
Thank you. And Louis, you probably mentioned most of them. I have a question for the teacher. If you want to slide over to the mic. My question is, what countries are represented by your group this morning in terms of either themselves being there or their families? As alluded to by my brethren up here, the best thing about our nation, the best thing about our city is that we are a melting pot, and the beautiful young children you brought to us today represent that. But what sort of countries are we looking at today?
Today we have a student from Colombia, Venezuela, Honduras, and Cuba, Puerto Rico also. I don't think I have left anybody. Colombia, Dominican Republican. Vice President remind me, Dominican Republican.
And how
we have in Mexico also, I'm sorry.
Right.
There's so many nationalities, so we do have in Mexico also. So Mexico, Honduras, Venezuela, Nicaragua.
Everybody.
República Dominicana, Puerto Rico, and Cuba.
And I bet they all get along beautifully. Well, thank you so much for all you do.
Thank you.
Mr. Miranda, you've done it again. I know how you love young people, making sure they're recognized in our community, and the good work that people are doing to foster their education and foster them to be good citizens. But I don't want to be left out. So, Mr. Vieira, I don't know that Spanish well, but I'm going to say, hola, ¿cómo está bien? So, again, thank you, Mr. Miranda, and thank the kids for coming out, the young people for coming out this morning. We appreciate all they're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, council members.
Thank you.
All right, we'll jump right in. Public comment. And we're going to kind of change it up this morning. We have our Hillsborough County Commissioner Chair woman, Mrs. Kimberly Overman, and she's going to speak first at public comment. So we can bring her up, Madam Deputy Clerk.
Good morning. Kimberly Overman, if you're on the line, please unmute yourself.
I am here. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Can you hear me? Good morning. Good morning. Thank you all very much for allowing me the opportunity to offer public comment today regarding the item that was previously brought to your board for consideration and is being brought back today under item 84. Last year, we adopted at the Hillsborough County level, or unincorporated Hillsborough County, a tenant bill of rights or housing rights to advise tenants of their rights, to make sure that they're aware of their rights and responsibilities to care for the property of which they are renting, to have a residential property, then when they rent it, where it is up to code and a safe housing, as well as the opportunity to use benefits that they're eligible to receive. For example, Section 8 vouchers, veterans assistance, housing vouchers, or other senior citizen of housing support to apply towards their rent to provide them with an opportunity to have safe housing. We prepared this ordinance and presented it to our Board of County Commission, which was approved and adopted in July of 2021. That has a notice that needs to be provided to each of the tenants to make sure that they're aware of what their rights are. The Hillsborough County has actually supported the city's efforts to help individuals stay in their homes through the emergency rental assistance support, of which we've managed the city's allocation to make sure that we've utilized those in full. We also have adopted an eviction mitigation home stabilization program that has allowed our residents to obtain legal support when they are potentially at risk of being evicted. The good news is this law does not really change the rules. What it does is it defines how you look at income when qualifying for the ability to rent a property. It does not change how the landlord would consider qualifying a candidate for renting their property. It does prohibit, however, discriminating against someone who has housing assistance to allow them to live safely in our community and to have that rent paid on behalf of their ability to rent a place on a consistent basis, which actually helps the landlord by reassuring them that that rent will be paid each month on time. So the good news is we have it in the unincorporated Hillsborough County. The challenge we have by not having the city adopt a similar strategy is the rules will end up being different whether or not someone lives in the city or lives in the county. But the situation is the same. For the individual looking for a place to live that may be eligible for housing assistance rent to assist them in renting a place, they may not understand that, where in this city or outside of the city the rules apply. So I do urge you today to adopt the Tenant Bill of Rights and to take into consideration the letter that I did send you back in December, on December 1st, for consideration of any issues that associated with the language. I do appreciate your time today. I do urge you to pass this. It is the right thing to do, in my opinion. And it does say a lot about us when we want to make sure that we do not have discrimination in our communities, whether they live in the city of Tampa or live in unincorporated Hillsborough County. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for your comments, and I'm sure this body will make sure we take everything you've said under consideration. And again, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Madam Clerk, do you want to continue with the voice? You want to go to second floor? Okay, we'll go over, continue virtual. All right, all right.
Next speaker we have is Stephanie Pointer. However, she is not logged on at this time, so we'll move on to Michael Randolph. Mr. Randolph, if you can hear me, please unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Yes, my name is Michael Randolph, and I'm with the West Tampa CDC. I want to start off by saying to my young brown and brothers and sisters that came up earlier, good job, job well done, represent the community. Yesterday, or actually Tuesday, we met with the newly appointed police chief to talk about the increase in violence in our community. One of the things that came out of that meeting was building trust through communication and engagement. We talked about best practices approaches to how do you resolve violence in the community, and we talked about out-of-the-box approaches, and what she was really impressed with. I think what's important about the conversation is that we both agree that everything should be evidence-based and data-driven. And we should look at approaches that might not seem right, but actually does work around the country. In addition to that particular meeting, we talked to her about doing a multi-state approach in which we have most violent community engaged in a multi-state approach to reducing violence in the community. One of the new programs that we have coming up is the West Tampa Youth Initiative. This initiative focuses on at-risk youth using what we call art as a therapy to reduce violence. Believe it or not, it actually does work. I'm really in support of the tenant right. Hope that bill get passed. Myself, I live in Rose Park. So I'm part of that Section 8 thing. And it's a lot of good people that deserve the best houses in the city. So I hope you take that in consideration. Don't base it on the income, but base it on the price of cars. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Next speaker is going to be Carol Ann Bennett. Carol, if you're on the line, please unmute yourself and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, my name is Carol Ann Bennett. I'm a lifelong resident of Tampa. I want to speak today because I'm afraid. I'm afraid of what I see happening to the fine members of our Tampa City Council. The Tampa population is growing. We hear it all the time, how much it has grown, how much it's going to grow. And yet you all are paid as though your job is part-time. In addition to that, now you have the threats of lawsuits hanging over your heads. This is so upsetting to me. It really makes me afraid for what we can expect for representation. It makes me afraid of the effect on the citizens of this city. Not only are you not paid enough for the job you do, you're now going to be expected to shell out tens of thousands of dollars to defend yourselves. And the city is not backing you up. I do not understand that. I do not understand why the city is not protecting you, because in actuality, they're protecting me. They're protecting me and all of the citizens so that we know that we have good, honest representation. What is the future of the city council if when people run, they are faced with possible financial ruin? What kind of people are going to do this job? It's already overworked and underpaid. What no one seems to understand is this really isn't about you. It's about us. It's about the citizens. You represent us. And if you're not able to do a good job, if you don't have the freedom to be able to do your job without fear, then we are not being represented. I ask the city to please step up and protect you, and even more importantly, selfishly, protect me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is going to be Jean Straumeyer. Jean, if you're on the line, please unmute yourself. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, gentlemen. How are you today?
Good morning.
All right. Well, I'm Jean Strohmeyer. Been in Tampa for 53. I always forget how old I am. 53 years, I guess. And I have a few things on the agenda, but I also echo what Carol Ann said about y'all being attacked, and I just feel it's ridiculous that that's happening. You know, y'all speak for us, and most of y'all do it just constantly without fail. You know, represent we the people of our communities. There's a couple that I feel don't, but that's only, you know, that's just my opinion. Anyhow, so you've got some things on the agenda. That Ybor Opportunity Zone, that's item number 3 was, it just looks like some big DC company coming down here. So if y'all can look into that, because that's what they do is opportunity zones, and that's for poor districts. And I don't think Ybor City qualifies, but y'all look into that, please. Let's see, the Coastal Action Plan number 26, that is underway. We've never heard of that until we started this 2.5 years ago, the coastal high hazard, and we've totally overbuilt that, as you all might be aware, especially SOG. Paid work experience, that's great. I like that on the agenda. That's how I started working in 8th grade with under work experience teacher, Mr. Gucciardo. Loved him. And I learned a lot of how to interview and such with that man. 31, death monitoring. That sounds very morbid. I didn't get to look into that, but gross. 32, I don't mean gross because we all die. 32, Human Rights Board. I don't know why we have such a thing, because that's what our Constitution and the Bible does. It keeps us in check with each other. So we should read both of those documents a lot more, and we'll be better off people. 47 on the ELAP, that's my baby, and we've kind of come to a conclusion. As long as they do that according to the plans that were submitted, we're good with that. 48, non-motorized traffic monitoring. Let's just big brother everybody, everything, even our dogs that walk on the street. I don't know. Downtown special services, didn't get to look into that, number 53. Tenants Bill of Rights, number 84, vote no. That if I have a contract with somebody to rent my place, and if in that contract I decide, and they decide they're okay with cleaning the toilets in my house, then that's our contract between two citizens, and nobody needs to be involved in that. If we're taking government money, then government intrusion will be coming into that contract. And frankly, I never cared where the money came from when I had a bunch of rentals. Didn't care. I had vouchers, but that was me. But I don't think everybody should have to do that. The CFI 82 is not in litigation. It is not. There's a developer that wants to buy it. So it is not in litigation. There's a property abutting it that is. So just saying that.
Thank you, Jen. We appreciate you.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Anyone else, Madam Clerk?
That's going to conclude public comments, Chair. Stephanie Pointer, as Celine pointed out, did register. However, she has not signed up to speak. Thank you.
She was on 2.
Oh, she might be on 2. All right. Well, thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Deputy Clerk, we'll go to the second floor. Public comment. Continue. All right.
My name is Melvin Hicks, and I thank God for letting me be here. And this is for the city attorney. If you ain't going to do your job, sir, about reining and counseling and about their agendas and public comment, you don't need to be there. You open your mouth about everything else, but open your mouth about the procedures of city council, sir. Thank you. But anyway, I was looking at this agenda, and it's too much money. But I don't want to talk about that right now. I want to talk about the housing. Why the city council ain't, the legislator is not passing the housing bill of rights. It's plain and simple. They have an interest in it. It's too much money got dumped in the city with private developers and stuff like that. So the city council, they're large ones, Land of Goods, Bill Carson. We were just talking about some of them, but it's really all of them that they promised the developer something. They'll never pass the city, the tenants' rights bill, people. They will never pass it. And I don't know why y'all doing y'all attention on this right here, the city rights tenants bill, but they'll never pass it. You should have saw their face when the commissioner was talking about it. Orlando Gills and the other one was act like it was a joke to have rights as a tenant to live somewhere. I bet they own their house, and they'll never pass it. It's too much money got dumped on this already. Too much money. You should have got a hold of it in 2020. There's too much money got dumped on it, and you're fighting a losing battle. They will never pass it. I will bet my life on it. They will never pass it. And I'm looking at this agenda, back to the agenda, and I'm looking at the shoes you got. All this money is being passed out, and you still ain't do nothing about the rising sea level. I didn't see nothing in this agenda. I've been coming here for a while, and I ain't seen nothing in the agenda about the rising sea level or the sea walls or anything like that. Tampa ain't going to be here. I mean, Tampa is not going to be here if you don't concentrate your efforts on that seawall and the rising sea level. It's supposed to be a foot coming up, and all y'all caring about is buying shoes for the y'all apartment, transferring money, buying vehicles for the police department, all this other stuff that's got no business in this agenda right now. In this growing problem we have in Tampa and in the country. I didn't see that the council member, the legislators members of
Thank
the
you,
city
sir.
council.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Thank you so much for your comments. Thank you for your comments, sir. Thank you.
Oh, I'm done?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Oh, dang. Can I get an extra 15 minutes?
No.
Just get on y'all.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm Sovereign Despot, D-E-S-P-O-T, King Yahweh Yahim Siam, also known as Sovereign Johnny Booth. Okay, ad hoc. Gonna go to the projector. All right, the state being solely a business should not have my nor anyone's else's power, authority, nor say then an actual living being of whom it takes to will any type, that being movement, transaction, granting nor denying it is very unlawful for state to hold an living individual as if one is its slave. This is not deemed lawful and is against the law, and incoherence makes state a human trafficker, trafficking the people on large scale. State has many accusations acted in many harmful ways, using many forms and ways to keep all American global sovereign members to whereas the people are forced into not lawful contractual agreements in a con way, and has kept record in its way by placing them in a category, calling them people's persons in order to get away with a legal slavery, which is not lawful, and calling it debt, D-E-B-T, state gets away with human trafficking. The free and sovereign global members, sovereign worldwide global American kingdom, ad hoc. All right, this is also a blue campaign, blue star, blue notice, Freedom Commission. In saying so, state, main state, and all franchisee states, going from a global, international, federal, regional, county, cities, villages, territorial, no matter the power seat, providence, district, mapping, you will release slavery hold from within your parliamentary, congressional citizenry, which every seat, state may try to hold, not lawful, willing it, unjust power, authority, jurisdictional holds, courts, tribunals, meets legal but never lawful state. You agreed to give up all power, authority, jurisdiction over to me, worldwide forces, as Speaker for the House, for Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, agreed, done, and state you agreed, thinking it would help rid of Prime Minister, President Donald John Trump. Blue campaign, blue star, blue notice, Freedom Commission.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your comments. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Good morning, City Council. My
Morning,
name is
sir.
Rod Hatch at 1013 East Patterson Street in Tampa. I come before you today on behalf of the Hillsborough River, and more importantly, I spoke with you all about a year ago about litter. One of the greatest underutilized resources that we have in this city, and also an endangered resource, is our manatees. Manatees are in our Hillsborough River year-round. People travel to Weeki Wachee or Crystal River to see the manatees. We have them here right in our own backyard. And the reason why I say they're underutilized is I'm not here to talk to you about litter like I normally do, but I'm here to talk to you about an awareness program and utilizing manatees to build an awareness program about litter. And to do that, we need some stricter laws to reinforce it. I sent each of you an email this morning that lists every single state across the country and what their fines are for littering. For first offense, littering, simply throwing a pop bottle out of the window of the car driving by. Tampa doesn't have any ordinances for it. The state of Florida has the second weakest ordinance or fine in the entire country, only to be surpassed by South Carolina, which is a $150 fine, which also, by the way, is the worst state in the country for littering. All the sources, I sent you the source for this information, but just to review a few: Alabama, it's a misdemeanor, $500 up to 1,000 community service hours. Arizona, up to $2,500, also a misdemeanor. Alaska, up to $1,000. Arkansas, it's a misdemeanor, up to $1,000. California, up to $1,000 and 8 hours of community service. Colorado, up to $500. Connecticut, up to $199. Georgia, misdemeanor, up to $1,000 and up to 40 hours of community service and or 6 months of imprisonment. Illinois, misdemeanor, up to $1,500. Indiana, up to $1,000. Iowa, up to $625 and or 30 days of imprisonment and or community service. Kansas, between $250 and $1,000. Kentucky, also a misdemeanor, up to $500. Louisiana, a flat fine of $900 and 16 hours of community service and may be imprisoned up to 30 days. Maine, up to $500. I'm not going to read all these, but there's quite a few. Oregon, up to $6,250. Yet in Florida, we have an ordinance that's $150 fine. Our signs out there for littering are still the old littering fines at $100. DeSantis raised the fine to $150 about a year ago. We haven't even updated the signage for that yet. But that greatest resource of manatees that we have here needs to be utilized. It's about the manatees. We need to increase awareness. You guys in City Council, you deal with a lot of complicated issues. This is simple. Only you guys can make it complicated. Don't pass the buck to FDOT. Handle it. Address this issue. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, sir. That was a great photo of the manatees, John.
Right off the Nebraska Bridge.
Yeah, it was a great photo.
Good morning, Honorable Chairman. Luke Leroux. I'm here to speak on item number 4. I didn't know if that was going to be a public hearing. We were advised that we would be best making our presentation at this point in the meeting. If you would prefer us to wait until number 4 comes up, I've got no problem with that, so I'll defer to your guidance at this point.
Mr. Shelby, I think it's a public hearing. No, it's not a public hearing, I don't believe. Yes, sir, order. So I think it's best.
It's first reading, so
Yes, you can't speak anyway.
It probably is a public hearing.
It's not a public hearing. I think we just go with public comments right now. Right.
I can't hear a word.
Right.
So that's a yes. I can't hear you at the podium.
Yes, sir, you're
There's
going
no
to speak
speaker
now
back
on the
here.
item. You can speak now on the item, yes, sir.
So, Mr. Chairman, I know I've been here before on this same issue, and it's my understanding that there's an ordinance that's being presented today to repeal the last amendments to the noise ordinance that were considered some weeks ago. I just wanted to make it clear that I represent a number of businesses in Ybor City. They took their concerns and the effort to try to balance out the city's concerns and other communities' concerns to come up with a much more workable ordinance. And in our meeting, we were going to pursue the establishment of an entertainment district for Ybor City that would have different regulations than, let's say, another residential district. I know I attended the workshop the other night, and what I said was that there's no reason that the city of Tampa, with all the excellent people that work for the city, that we couldn't come up with a unified approach that would be at the cutting edge in combining both noise issues, zoning issues, and depending on what kind of use you have, would also have some impact on what kind of noise or decibel regulations would be imposed on you. We actually have been talking with noise experts, and we've talked with some zoning folks about the establishment of the entertainment zone. There are several communities in the state of Florida that have entertainment zones, and I think that that is the path that we'd like to follow. The reason I say that is that I would be wholly in favor if the council considered repealing the last ordinance to give us an opportunity to work with the city, work with our experts, and produce something that we could present and certainly go over with the city and see if there's a way that we can't come up with a much better noise ordinance than what's on the books right now. Clearly, I've seen this ordinance progress and be amended, and lots of things have happened to it. It's a little bit disjointed. I think the last time I was here, I expressed some concern with the constitutionality of some aspects of it. Don't want to get into that now. But I think that if you repeal what you adopted last, it would go back to the ordinance before, but it would give us a full and fair opportunity to work together to come up with something that I think would be, as I said before, cutting edge and could be one of the best ordinances in the country to deal with all the different factors that come into play when you're considering noise regulations. So all I want to say is it's a pleasure. Thank you for the privilege. Thank you for letting me be part of the diverse presentations this morning. And I would certainly appreciate it if you repealed the last ordinance and let us work with your staff, with our experts, to come up with something that would be best suited for the city and balance out everyone's interests. And I appreciate the privilege today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, gentlemen. Can you see me? Can you hear me?
We can see you. We can hear you.
I'm so excited to be here today. There are 6 items on the agenda today for SOG, and there's a bigger fish that is not on the agenda. I love Mr. Shelby, but I understand he's not the only attorney employed by the city charged with protecting the voices of the citizens by protecting our elected officials. Yet, Ms. Grimes is quoted in the October 7th article in the Tampa Bay Business Journal. I gave you a copy. It's on the poop-colored paper in your packet that I've sent upstairs. I hope you have it. Please confirm. Do you guys really have the packet?
We have the packet. Yes,
okay,
ma'am.
great.
Mr. Shelby just delivered
All right.
it to us.
I just want to make sure. I am not a lawyer, and I don't want to play one at City Council. But the question is, what does a reasonable person think? Well, reasonable people keep asking me, why don't they defend our representatives? I've asked this of the legal department. My requests have been ignored. I asked the mayor yesterday, and I'll keep asking until someone explains to me why now we have 2 city councilmen in this situation. Who is next? Not just who is next to get sued, but who is next to run for city council? No one will run for the city council or the mayor's office if they think that the city attorney offers them no protections and that they have to put their own funds at risk in order to represent the citizens of our city. The only ones who will run for the city are city council and the mayor's office are going to be the yes men, the people who are bought and paid for. The defense of this of council isn't my only legal issue, my issue with the legal department. I wonder why they think CFI, also known as 5215 West Tyson, should be out of bounds for discussion. The attorneys call Fludra. There is no Fludra on this address. There is only the need to get this hazardous chemical plant out of South Tampa. I am flabbergasted that they have request to postpone item number 82 until June. Are you kidding me? City staff are meeting with developers about the possible solutions to this. 5301 West Tyson is in Fludra. But guess what? They came to a resolution. The new plans are in Acela for the whole world to see. SOG has items 80 through 81 on the agenda. Those are our 14 items. You have a red, a yellow, and an orange sheets. The orange and yellow sheets, and we created a new one called the lime sheet. It's in there for you, appropriately named. We have high hopes for it becoming green. We are happy with the progress. We are happy with the new lines of communication with Mr. Benson and Ms. Travis. We are excited to see SOG study, which is on the agenda, number 26.
Thank you, Ms.
Today
Boyle.
for your approval. Please give me 1 minute. I'm not.
All right.
For the SOG folks to support the FAR and include Beach Park. We also would like for you, I'm sorry, I can skip that. And for those in the public who don't know what I'm talking about, you see this sign? You can Google me. You can look on Facebook. I'll be happy to talk to anybody about these items I'm talking about, but I only have 3 minutes to publicly speak, and the Tampa Bay Times seems to think that there's not an issue here. A response is requested.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Morning,
Good
sir.
morning, Council. Ernest Mueller, Tampa, Florida. I am here on behalf of basically encouraging you to go ahead and repeal the noise ordinance as you had planned.
Ernie, can you step forward just a little bit? We're having trouble trouble
years,
hearing you.
This noise ordinance has been kind of patched as things came up.
Ernie,
I
can you
think
can you put the mic up to you a little bit? I know you talk. Can you put the mic up a little bit? The mic in front of you? There you go. Yeah, there you go, sir. Thank you.
This any better?
That's better. Yes, sir.
Much better. Thank you.
All right, great. Well, for years, this noise ordinance has been patched when things have come up. We really need to take a look at this noise ordinance anew. You can think of an effective noise ordinance. It's going to be like a three-legged stool where you have each leg represents either the citizens and the residents who want harmony. You have your businesses, your entertainment that have invested money and are creating jobs. And probably the most important, or just as important, is the leg for enforcement. And I think that's where we really need to work. We have an opportunity here to redo this ordinance and do it right, as Mr. LaRoe has said. And one of the aspects of effective enforcement is a warning. And the warning was taken out. In my experience, as you know, I've had experience in enforcement, that a warning or a notice has been 85% effective. And to take that out, I think would be a big detriment to an effective noise ordinance. So I'm asking you to go ahead, repeal what you have done, and let's have an opportunity to really make a world-class noise ordinance. Thank you.
Ernie, just wanted to welcome you back. It's good to see your face, and glad to see you're around and still involved. We appreciate all your years of service to the city of Tampa.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Bishop Michelle B. Patty. I'm here about the Tenants' Bill of Rights. I'd like to thank Councilman Luis Vieira for bringing it back. I also like to take an opportunity to thank the county for passing their Bill of Rights. This is about human rights. This is discrimination in its worst form, when you're denying people a place to live. When people attain these vouchers, many of them has waited for years to get these vouchers, and they feel like they won the lottery, only to be faced with landlords who do not want them in their community. I was shocked at some of you that voted against this because you seemed in the past to understand the plight of the poor. but as long as the poor don't move to your neighborhood. And that is a problem. If a person has a voucher, they should be allowed to live wherever they want to live. And to think that because you have a voucher, you're going to tear up the property or you're not going to be a good tenant. I'm here as a landlord to tell you that is not true. I have rented to people who didn't have vouchers and they were not good tenants. And our servicemen and women who have gone and fought for this country to come back and not have a safe place to live. I've also had the pleasure of visiting Cuba and looked at how deplorable the conditions are in Cuba, and they don't have rights, and now you're telling the tenants they don't have basic right. I feel like this landlord tenants bill of rights will also be favorable for the landlord. We both should know our rights, the tenants as well as the landlord. So I'm asking those of you that maybe was put under pressure, folks telling you not to support this, that you reconsider this bill. We have young people that are killing each other because they have no hope. They have no place to live. They're living in cars with their families. You don't understand a parent that is having nowhere to go to bathe or wash, and then so they lose all hope. So therefore you see a lot of things that is happening in our community. So once again, I'm asking this council, and especially those of you that voted against this Bill of Rights, to have some compassion, have some love, have some concern, but most of all, do what is right that's in the best interest of the citizen. You all came to the neighborhoods. You said that you wanted to support and that you would do your best job, that you would stand up for all the citizens, not those that are only in South Tampa or New Tampa, but people should have the right to live wherever they can live. Do not take a broad brush and paint everyone that because you have a voucher, then you do not know how to conduct yourself. That's almost like saying that all blacks are thieves, and I'm here to tell you that is not true. That is a myth. Let's do away with the myth. Let's start moving the city of Tampa forward. We see what happened in Tallahassee, that the people there are not concerned, but we're expecting you, the local government, to step in and be a partner with the county so that we all can have an enjoyable place to live, a safe place to live, and a place where our children can see that yes, the government does care about their future.
Thank you,
you
Bishop.
so much.
Thank you.
Good morning,
Morning,
Council.
sir.
How y'all doing this morning? I'm Jay Johnson. I'm down here for Article 7, Tenant Bills of Right, and I'm just looking at the first time that it came up to you guys. Y'all passed it 6-1. It fell 4-2 on the 3rd of this month, and I'm just wondering why that we can have so much support for tenants' rights, and then all of a sudden that the ball is being dropped. Discrimination of any kind is not welcome or acceptable. So we already in a housing crisis, and to use subsidizing as a weapon against tenants is not acceptable. If you come down and look in the streets, we have to do anything possible to get people a place to live. So I'm down here to support the tenant right bill and hope you guys go back to the 6-1 that actually passed the tenants right bill so that people can have a safe and viable place to live for themselves and their family. Again, we're already in a homeless situation. Let's not create a more devastating situation that our city have to deal with. Do what the county did, adopt the tenant bill of right. Appreciate you.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Connie Burton. In around 1963, Dr. King had the opportunity of addressing a crowd in Washington, D.C. that has gone down as one of his most favorite speech I wouldn't say best, but I love it as well, where he talked about how the African black community, the Negro at that time, as we was described, had been given a promissory note. He talked about the Great Emancipation Proclamation, and as we look at it today and read through it today, we can measure what progress has been made in the last 163 years. When we talk about the Tenant Bill of Rights, what we are talking about, not just the crippling, as Dr. King talked about, the crippling of segregation through discrimination. We're talking about how segregation and discrimination shows up now in 2022 by economic segregation and discrimination. When we find ourselves living in exile in our own community, we're talking about looking at the vast amount of prosperity in this city and how communities are being gentrified. When we talk about a promissory note that we can live here in the city of Tampa and be treated as equal, then we are running into a brick wall by your refusal to move forward and saying, tenants, all members of this society, whether it is those that are needing federal assistance and housing vouchers, are being discriminated against. Again, I keep thinking that we are moving forward, but we keep running into this thing called justice denied, justice delayed. This Tenant Bill of Rights would say, what side of history do this council find itself on? Landlords have all rights through the courts, the ability to evict, but if we just simply say we would want to live in a community that would offer us a variety of amenities, just give us a different piece, then we should not be denied. I'm hoping that this council will move back to its original vote of 6-1 or 7-0, and saying that we're going to move forward in the hopes and promise that we are not going to continue to deny justice for the poorest of poor inside of our community. That this form of nasty discrimination that we see going on now, that is shaping itself up by people's insecurities and alleged fears, that you, the council, will walk this city through it by saying that all residents that have qualified through these voucher programs would be allowed to live in a piece of security, and that we can see the fulfillment of Dr. King's dream.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Chestnut, Tampa, Florida. It's called black hatred. It's called racial discrimination. It's called racial hatred. It's a certain kind of hatred white people have for African people. It goes back a long, long way. It's slavery revisited every time you see it, every part of our existence. You understand? And you can see it, and they reveal it, they put it in your face. A Tenant's Bill of Rights. That should be a Democratic city council, should be no problem for them. The people shouldn't have to be down here begging for that. For poor and working class, mostly people of color, disproportionately people of color, needing a place to live, needing a place to stay, living below the living standards, living below humanity. And we have a representative up there, don't do no good for the people, no good for District 5. The white people have a way of expressing themselves that they don't let you know they're going to have their rights. Now they down here talking about sounding Ybor City and sounding Channelside. Those MFers confiscated so many cars and MF and bicycles from our youth and from our adults for for having music in their cars and music in their bicycles, confiscated them. But now the white people don't have a problem with noise. But they had a problem with noise when we want to express ourselves. The white people have a different standard. And it's a different standard even when it comes to forgiveness. It's a different standard of forgiveness. They got a person they want to put in for police chief right now. They forgave her and she forgave herself for her past criminal sins. But we can get caught with a nickel sack of marijuana. We can get caught shoplifting, and it sticks with us for the rest of our lives. And they incarcerate us with the harshest sentence, genocide. Genocide they put against our people. And that's the racial hatred. They stay right in your face and they smile with you and they tell you about all these things that's going on and how wonderful it is and affirmative action, and it ain't did a MFing thing for African people from the time they drug us from Africa to where we are right now today. Absolutely, positively nothing. And grown folks down here begging for a place to live, begging for when they get a voucher, be on housing assistance, waiting on their list, on their housing list for years and years and years. And when they get the voucher, now they're faced with white racial hatred and gentrification where these MF and crackers don't want no black people in this city. And they running us all out.
All right,
with
thank you.
code enforcement and everything else that goes with it. Stand
Thank
up,
you, Mr.
Orlando
Daniels.
Ghouls, and be a man. If you don't want to be a city councilman, be a man,
Thank you, sir.
a
Thank
black
you, sir.
man.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, City Councilman.
Morning.
My name is Yvette Lewis, and I am the president of the NAACP Hillsborough County Branch. Happy Black History Month. The NAACP Founders Day was February the 12th, 1909. We didn't start, again, biking while black, but black people were victims of it. We didn't start renting while black, but black people were victims of it. The police department coined the phrase, "I fear my life." With city council, black people fear their life too. The NAACP has worked hard to build the bridge with the black community and Tampa Police Department. Please don't let this history repeat itself when it comes to the past. It is sad that I have to continue to come up here and ask these questions because you were put here by the votes of the people. It saddens me that the gentleman before me say they were begging and begging and begging. May not seem like it to you, but it seems like it to us. You see, the slaves back then, they begged for freedom. They fought, they died. But yet, you know, the master didn't really listen. But I want you to know there was one or two that rose up to say it, we're gonna let freedom reign. And they gave the people a way to the promised land. I'm gonna ask City Council, which one of y'all are gonna stand up for the people, African American people, and lead us to the promised land in this city of Tampa? Or if you wanna coin the phrase, the city of Tampa Bay, or the phrase, a diverse city. See, what good is those words when you got other people living impoverished, suffering, going through so much? We shouldn't have to live this way. Born and raised here in Tampa, I'm disappointed in leadership. Disappointed how they treat this organization. Because we advocate, we agitate, and we educate the community. It is sad. My heart is hurt and heavy that we continue to come here every week. People need a place to stay. People need a place to live. Tent's just not gonna get it. Landlords are putting people out. We get calls and calls every day dealing with this issue.
Give you 10 seconds, Ms. Lewis.
Thank you. Something has got to give. I just want to say, on behalf of the NAACP Hillsborough County Branch, which one of you are going to lead us to the promised land? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman,
Good morning,
Council,
sir.
and your colleagues. My name is Jarvis Elamine. I'm a community organizer. Been in this town 35 years as a organizer and activist, trying to do some good in the community. Tenant Bill of Rights. We shouldn't even be discussing that. It's a shame for God that we got to discuss that. You know, because that should be a given in a so-called civilized democratic society that we claim to be. You hear what I say, claim? A so-called civilized and democratic society. You know, as much as I've been involved with politics, I've been involved in politics a long time, over 40 years. And I try to find a good way to see politics. But I'm convinced that it's not politics, it's politricks. Many tricks. It's trickery. That's what y'all doing up there. Trickery. I want every one of you to take a self-examination of yourself, every councilman. Remember what you said when you're running. All those forums you went to, all those Tiger Bays you went to. Reflect back on what you said to the people that you wanted to vote for you. You ran on a platform of talking about affordable housing. I'm going to treat everybody fair. Oh, for diversity. Well, we're going to have inclusion. Oh, we can live anywhere. Oh, we're going to do it. Now when it's time to do it, crickets. Crickets, because you got trickery. Tricks, many tricks. And I want to know to y'all how you live with yourself. Go back and look at your platform. Go back and look at your platform, what you said. Go back and look at all your literature. Because some of y'all up for re-election. Elections have consequences. I'm telling you, I really don't know even why we have to come here begging. It's a shame for God to come here begging and pleading. And let me ask you a question, Madam President Yvette Lewis. None of these people are going to lead us to no promised land. They don't lead us nowhere. They can't lead themselves out of a brown paper bag. Look at this situation with the police chief. That's a shame for God. She should even be considered. A black man get a little misdemeanor. He can't even go walk past the police station. She was on the squad with the black and white black. She kicked the car, busted out the window. Why she even should be considered? But this is the kind of town we living in. Y'all need to wake up and pay attention. City councilman, y'all can do better. I know each one of y'all individual. Come on, man. Let's do better. We want to help you. We're not against you. We want to have a collaborative working relationship. But y'all got to do something. We can't do it all. People got a voucher, should be able to live where they want to live. Talking about the next great city, Tampa Bay and all. Stop all the foolishness and get real. Have a nice morning.
Thank you, sir. Morning, Pastor.
My name is Pastor Frank Williams, located 1112 East Scott Street, Tampa, Florida. We trying to do something here in Tampa, but the city council and the mayor won't let us do it. And you know what? That's a damn shame. We want to do what's right before God Almighty, and they don't want us to do it. But I want to thank God that we are where we are today. God done woke us up to see another day, and that's a great blessing. I'm always going to keep my faith and trust in God Almighty because He's been so good to me. But the city trying to destroy the church, trying to destroy my home, and they're trying to destroy everything. And we got to understand, they say we are citizens of the United States of America, but that's a long way for us to be a citizen, treat us bad because we're citizens of the United States of America. One thing I want you all to know, we must do what's right before God Almighty. It's not about your position, whether you're a city council, whether you're a mayor, whether you're a governor. It's all about us doing what's right before God Almighty. And you know what? I'm convinced that God will take care of us, just like He said. America was built up on in God we trust. Now we don't want to put God into nothing. We want to leave God out of everything, as if we don't trust Him. But we going to trust God till we go to the graveyard. And I thank God for that opportunity. We're going to praise and glorify His holy name. And we thank God for the victory. I've been coming down here for over 40 years. I didn't come down here so much. I was a young man when I came down here. Now I done got to be an old man. And it seems like the same way y'all treated 40 years ago, you still treating it worse than now. And you want to talk about homes, be a home for people that can't afford it? Can't afford it means you should build one. And that's what it's all about. We got to understand, we are low-income people. Some of us on fixed income. Can't get a penny over what they give us. And we must tell God to bless us, Father. Give us the strength to endure it until the end. I was going by Milton the other day, and Milton got like an old junkyard all around the buildings and everything. Not only that, but they built a retention pond right there on Cypress, Chelsea, and 22nd Street. Fill those spots up and build some homes for people that can't afford them. Like me and everybody else. We can't afford these luxury homes y'all live in. But build us some homes decent enough but we could go in and enjoy life just like anybody else.
Thank you, Pastor. Good
And we
seeing you.
must understand. We're
Thank
going
you,
to keep our trust in God.
Thank you, sir.
And I want to invite you all to my church, 1112 East Scott Street. I did that one time before, but they don't show up. God bless you.
Thank you, Pastor.
Good morning, board members.
Good morning.
My name is Reva Iman. Florida Rising believes justice should be on every block. That includes criminal justice, climate justice, voting rights, discrimination, and last not least, housing. Tenant Bill of Rights is something that we all deserve. I was raised in public housing. I took the job with Florida Rising. I canvassed the communities. I looked at the conditions of a lot of people and their housing situations. It is only fair that we have a tenant voting rights for everyone in our community, Hillsborough County. The county has adopted this, so why can't the city of Tampa follow suit to make this equally for everyone? We are educating ourselves on this process that is taking place. It seems like it's only affected black and brown communities. But I wonder if the whites go through what the black and brown go through, will you approve this? I wonder if your cousins and aunties go through this, will you approve this? As an individual that lives in it, be in it, and out here trying to help, we at Florida Rising have given everything we can and keep giving everything we can to bring change in the state of Florida. So I would like for you all to reconsider that vote and give everyone the Tenant Bill of Rights for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Morning. State your name.
My name is Benjamin Bernard Barton, and I'm here to represent Florida Rising. And this is my first time speaking, so I'm a little nervous, but I'm going to get right to the point. We're talking about Tenants' Bill of Rights. We're talking about people living one day at a time. We're talking about people having peace in their life. But when you got people waking up not knowing if they're going to be evicted the next day based on the fact of them not having the proper rights, just like the landlords do, because they're raising their rent, or they don't want to meet their, the proper repairs for their apartments and stuff like that. I lived in Tampa for almost 20 years, coming from the streets in New York. I know what it's like to be homeless. I also know what it's like to start all over again. That's what's going on today in society, not just here in Tampa, throughout the whole world. We need to come together as people, not just here in Tampa, throughout the whole world. We need to help each other. So change is taking place in every household, where the child is going to their parents saying, Mom, Dad, today I slept good because we got a roof over our head. Or you got that child that's, Mom, Dad, don't cry. Everything's going to be all right. We ain't going to get evicted. Everything's going to be all right. You always made a way for us. Tenants have rights. They need to be heard, no matter what. We need to represent the tenants, just like y'all represent the landlords. No ifs, ands, or buts. Change don't change until you change. So let's change. Let's change the conditions. Let's change the mindset. Let's do the right things. Let's make the right decisions for everybody, not just here in Tampa. We represent humanity. Let's do the right thing for today and forevermore. I want to thank you for your attention and allow me to speak. Y'all have an awesome and blessed day.
Thank you, sir. Uh-oh.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. There's nothing, to be honest, there's nothing I can say that no one prior to me or before me has not said.
State your name for us.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Robin Lockett. I'm the Regional Director of Florida Rising. There's a lot going on. People are concerned. People are hurting. And this is a time, I heard a gentleman say early on, that was really striking to me. He bet his life that y'all wouldn't pass this. That's strong, right? He bet his life that y'all wouldn't pass this when it passed before. When I heard that the Tenant Bill of Rights passed prior, I was pleased for the first reading. Didn't realize that the vote for the second reading would come out the way that it came out. This is the time that you choose who you are going to fight for, your constituents or corporations. This is the time to stop posing for the camera and saying the cute sound bites that carry. there's a need for you to take yourself, the ones up there that are landlords, the ones up there that said, hey, I wouldn't want to, and excuse me if I'm misquoting someone, that you're a landlord and you wouldn't want to take vouchers. But you're taking yourself out of that equation because you weren't put in that seat to serve yourself. You were put in that seat to serve the community. So what you will personally do shouldn't be a factor. It's what the people want. The Tenant Bill of Rights should be passed to start the process of protecting your constituents. Start the process. There's so much wrong with housing right now. This is just a beginning. This ain't the end all be all. This is the beginning of everything around housing. We have a majority. I heard people prior here talk about elections and so forth. I'm not here to threaten you about elections. But there are consequences. And when people, and this is not a black or white thing, because white people are on vouchers too. You have constituents that's on vouchers. But when it's time, when you come into our community, time and time again, you want affordable housing, you want to protect, you want to serve, and then when it's time for that vote to be taken, and we have the majority on this board, that to me, it makes no sense that we don't get anything passed that the community wants. So when you have an opportunity to pass this, this is the beginning of you conquering, changing the narrative that City Council doesn't protect the community. So in regards to the Tenant Bill of Rights, among other things, because there's a lot of other things coming up, rent stabilization, just a bunch of things coming up. In regards to the Tenant Bill of Rights, I hope that the vote is the same as it was with the first reading, that it pass. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Susan Swift. I'm the planning manager for Florida for Colliers Engineering and Design. I'm here on behalf of Save Beach Park and the Beach Park Homeowners Association. I'm not speaking on item 55, but I spoke virtually at the last hearing or the first reading for item 55. We are here today to ask for a similar effort to initiate by your motion to have the staff initiate another separate ordinance that would also eliminate the FAR option from the RMU 100 land use classification. That's the regional mixed use. And this would offer Beach Park similar protections from extremely high densities using that FAR option, and it would particularly assist them because they do have areas of RMU 100 that encroach into the neighborhood off of Kennedy Boulevard. So those proposals may actually be residential only and not mixed use. So I've handed out a draft motion for you all. I made a presentation last time at first reading, and again, on behalf of Beach Park, we hope you will make this motion to initiate a similar plan amendment, which will cover the RMU 100. We don't want to slow item 55 down. And we want those other neighborhoods to have those protections sooner than later, but we would also like to have Beach Park have similar protection. So we hope that you will initiate this by approving this, or by initiating this motion to have this ordinance done for RMU 100. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Chairman,
You recognize?
Martin Shelby, may I, ma'am, excuse me.
Ma'am?
I just wanted to know, did you, because I had seen you outside the building earlier today, and you had indicated that you wanted to somehow get this document to council. Have you been able to do that? The document that you just made reference to?
Repeat your question, Mr. Shelby.
The question is, you've made reference to something that you want city council to consider. Has that been provided to somebody on the second floor or to the clerk's office?
I don't know if everybody else has a copy of it, but I have a copy of it, and I'm happy to make the motion later.
I just wanted to be clear if the council had a copy.
All right, maybe Mr. Carson's aide can make a copy for all council members if that's the case.
And for the clerk, please.
And to the clerk.
Thank
and
you.
to Mr. Shelby as well, sir.
Second.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, next speaker.
That was the final speaker.
Thank you, sir. All right, moving right along. Item number 3.
Good morning, Council. Ron Vila, I'm with Historic Preservation. If I could share my screen, please. This is for item 3. This is for the Historic Preservation Property Tax Exemption for the address of 1619 East 8th Avenue. The background and benefits of this program: the Historic Property Ad Valorem Tax Exemption Program supports the strength and vitalization of our historic districts and landmark structures. There's 4 bullet items associated with that. It stimulates the revitalization of the historic properties. It eases the burden of maintaining these properties. They're very expensive to maintain. The eligible properties are designated local landmarks and historic properties within the local historic districts. And the applications are reviewed by the Borough Latino Commission and the Architectural Review Commission. The property that we're reviewing this morning, as I stated, is a 1619 East 8th Avenue. This property dates back to the early 20s. You see the individual building here that has no buildings on either side. In the 20s, it was a very dense urban area. The only elevation that was visible when this building was constructed was the front elevation and then the rear elevation. As part of the rehabilitation of this project, you'll see that the front elevation has been modified to be period appropriate. And I'll show that in a couple slides. This is the eastern facade, which had a very large stress crack on the side. As part of the rehabilitation, that stress crack was engineered and sutured together and no longer is a detriment. Looking at the west elevation, that also was not visible because of the other structures that were there in the early 20s, has no character features on the side. And then moving to the rear, that's off the alley, which is where all the amenities come in. Moving back to the front facade, the canopies on the upper level were removed, the bricks were repointed, and new windows were installed. The canopy that provides some shelter over the area was rehabilitated with period appropriate materials. As we go to the storefront, you see the lower bulkhead has the wainscoting, the display windows, the recessed entrance to meet code, and then the tiles, which is very period appropriate as well to enter the building. Moving to the interior, this was prior to rehabilitation. This was the ground level, which has a masonry floor. It has the exposed brick walls, and then you see the bones of the building with the rafters. It had a non-functional stairway going to the second level. And then upstairs, just a series of offices that were closed in that did not show the volume of the intention of when the building was built. This is going back down to the ground level, first floor. You see the exposed concrete. The brick walls were rehabilitated, and then the ceiling joists were expressed. Showing some furniture in the ground level. Moving to the stairs that do meet code now as it goes to the second level. And then the openness of the second level with the glazing that's there, and to show the openness and the expanse of the second level. On August 24th, 2021, the Bar Latino Commission approved this application as it is consistent with the Secretary of Interior standards and guidelines for rehabilitating historic properties, and voted to recommend to City Council the approval of this ad valorem tax exemption. Staff also recommended to City Council to approve the historic property ad valorem tax exemption for 1619 East 8th Avenue based on the meeting all the criteria in the ordinance 93-137. And I'm here to answer any questions.
Any questions for the gentleman? Thank you, Mr. Carlson. Any questions for the gentleman? All right. That being said, Mr. Vieira, you want to take a stab at this, sir? I mean, Mr. Shelby, we need it from the public on this, right?
Me? I'm sorry, sir?
We need it from the public on this, right? Number 3? Or just an ordinance? Just no public hearing, okay. We were talking about that earlier, not a public
No,
hearing.
this is just to be read.
Right.
by
Mr.
title.
Vieira, would you help us out on number 3, sir?
Yes, I will for item number 3. I move an ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, and I just got it, okay, item 55, I'm sorry, okay, just wanted to make sure it wasn't on this one, sir. Ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, an ordinance approving an historic preservation property tax exemption application relative to the restoration, renovation, or rehabilitation of certain property owned by Seneca Ventures LLC located at 1619 East 8th Avenue, Tampa, Florida, in the Ybor City Historic District, based upon certain findings, providing for notice to the property appraiser of Hillsborough County, providing for severability, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing an effective date.
Second by Mr. Maniscalco. Roll call.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Maniscalco, Vieira,
Yes.
Citro,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
and Goode.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously. Second reading and adoption will be held on March 17, 2022 at 9:30 a.m.
All right, thank you. Item number 4.
Good morning, Council.
Good morning.
Carol Post here for Administrator Development and Economic Opportunity. On item number 4, I'm joined by Susan Johnson-Velez from the Legal Department. We wanted to just give a little bit of background before jumping into the matter. I think it's fair to say the noise ordinance has had a long journey dating back a couple of years when Council asked staff to review and update the noise regulations to reflect evolving needs of the city. Agenda number 4 concerns the ordinance that was adopted 1 month ago in response to that council's request. And just to give a very brief summary, there were 5 changes that were adopted, 5 amendments to the existing noise regulations, and they are as follows. In brief, the first was adding and clarifying definitions to make many of the existing guidelines easier to follow for everyone. The second was addressing the Channel District's growing residential nature and removing it from being classified as an entertainment district, as that term has been commonly referred to. The third was adding a late night step down reduction in the maximum decibel level allowed in the Ybor Historic District and the Arena District. The fourth was updating the enforcement provision to give TPD a bit of a better tool to enforce against bad actors. And the fifth was creating a citywide standard for regulating outdoor amplified sound, which did not previously exist. The ordinance adopted the 5 changes. It intentionally has a delayed effective date, allowing for a 6-month implementation period. So the changes, none of these changes would take effect until August 13th. Also, at the time of the adoption last month, excuse me, council made a motion to request staff to re-engage our outreach efforts to business owners and residents and community groups to review and possibly revise and refine those 5 amendments, and to bring back proposed changes to City Council at the April 28th workshop. We've done that. As such, we immediately planned a series of outreach events. We have 7 that are currently scheduled. 3 have already occurred, 2 with the Ybor City leadership teams, and 1 that was virtual citywide just a couple of days ago. There are 4 more scheduled, 1 more for Ybor, 1 for the Soho Business District, 1 for the Channel District, and another citywide. So as those outreach events were happening on February 3rd, City Council made a motion to completely repeal the ordinance, which would undo the 5 amendments and leave us back where we started. So I'd just like to share that since the adoption a month ago, we have received a lot of feedback. And since we started our community sessions, we've continued to receive a lot of feedback. We've received support for what was adopted, as well as ideas on how to change it and to refine it, particularly around the outdoor amplified regulations and the enforcement warning provision. We're confident that we can work with the stakeholders, some of whom you heard from this morning, to come back in April with changes that would reflect more common ground. I would note, though, that we do have pretty universal support for moving forward with 2 of the changes, the one concerning Channel District and its growing residential nature, and the clarifications in the definitions and terms. There seems to be no reason that we would need to repeal those provisions at the very least. The bottom line is we recommend that you allow the outreach efforts that you asked us to undertake to continue. And if when we come back on April 28th, the edits are not acceptable, you could certainly choose to repeal in whole or in part, or take any other direction at that time. And that's still 3 months ahead of when the amendments adopted in January would take effect. So that's our recommendation, is to let the process continue and see this through. With that, I'll turn over to Susan and let her just share a few matters procedurally. Thank you.
Ms. Velez, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Susan Johnson Velez, Senior Assistant City Attorney.
Microphone.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Susan Johnson Velez, Senior Assistant City Attorney. Council, with that preface, at your direction from last meeting, we did prepare an ordinance that, if it is council's pleasure, would repeal the noise ordinance amendment, ordinance number 2022-18. And the ordinance before you for first reading would simply do that. And as Carol mentioned, put us back to the drawing board with respect to the noise ordinance.
Ms. Steenfeld, I believe it was your motion to ask for a repeal, so I'll let you go first, then I'll go with Mr. Carlson. You're recognized.
I'll defer to Ms. Carlson. His hand was up first.
Mr. Carlson, you recognized?
Yeah, I just, with all due respect to the makers of the motion, I'm going to vote against it. We've spent a lot of time with the community over the last couple years. The staff spent a lot of time on this. We have a process by which it can be amended. The reality is that it's a handful of people that are against this, and some people who don't understand exactly what it is. And so the public education is out there to talk to people about what it is and what it isn't, and to hear back from the specific bar owners who are concerned. It only affects outdoor amplified noise after midnight. And if you look at Ybor, for example, there are only a handful of places that it affects. If it's an indoor bar, it doesn't affect it at all. And so the community is demanding that we do something. We can solve the problems. They're legitimate concerns of the bar owners in Ybor and some other folks, and we can resolve those by amending it. But if we go back to the drawing board, it's going to take months and months again to come up with a new ordinance. And I think we can amend this as we go, but we've already done enough public input. Thank you.
Mr. Steenfeld.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, the bottom line is, and appreciate Ms. Post and Ms. Johnson-Velez reinforcing this, but even if we adopted it, it wouldn't be effective till August. I think there was a big rush in doing this. I think that once the community found out what was happening, we got all sorts of input on all sides of this. So I think there's plenty of opportunity between now and the summer, let's say June, July, to have staff and as well as ourselves to the ability we can to receive additional community input. Perhaps staff can put together an ad hoc committee made of neighborhood leaders combined with business leaders, okay, and get around a table and see what they can bang out. I recall, Mr. Miranda, you might recall, Ms. Ferlita did that many years ago. Rose Ferlita, when she was on council, she worked on this noise ordinance for about a year. Mr. Shelby, I don't know if you were here then, but you know, it's not an easy thing because there's so many balancing issues and factors. So I felt rushed into this. I felt rushed into it. I voted for it hesitantly the first time. I continued to hear negative comments from the community, and that's why I made the motion that we should rescind it, slow down, take it a little bit, a step at a time, and then as of, you know, April, May, June, we can start revising and coming up with something that works hopefully for everybody. So I urge council to go with where we were 2 weeks ago, rescind what we did, and let's just slow down a little bit. Thank you.
Mr. Maniscalco? Let me just say
Let me
something.
just say a couple of things, if I may. I've been reading an ordinance that was sent to me. I don't know if you all received this, but it was from Miami, the Miami North ordinance. And what I read here, it's much tougher than we even considered. This is really tough.
Mm-hmm.
This goes in a lot of detail, and it signifies single family as one area with 1 decibel, and multifamily with another area, another decibel, retail, commercial, restaurants with another decibel and a different decibel, wholesale, commercial, industrial with even a different decibel. So this ordinance, if I recall, the one we are, that went down 4-3, and I'm not questioning anyone's vote and never will, but that was worked on for a couple of years. I think Ms. Post said that just a couple of seconds ago, a couple of minutes ago, or maybe even longer. So I appreciate what was said, but we haven't even given this baby a chance to crawl. I can tell you that maybe the noise ordinance is one thing, but what the noise does to people, not only in Ybor City, but throughout the city, is one of the 2 or 3 top things that I get complaints on in the office. And the one that we had before, it was helter-skelter. It didn't give the authority at that time. You had to have this, you had to have that. And it's either disturbing or not disturbing. But I feel that we have to at least give this a chance, and they're not opposed to looking at it again and making changes if needed. But something has to be done. And I'm not against business, pro-business, against people, for people, but I think that noise carries everywhere, no matter where it's at, where it comes from, and music, and I said it, I think, at the last meeting. There used to be music in every part of Ybor City, and nobody heard it. That before even they had air conditioning with the windows open, because the speaker systems were not what they are now. Now they're 100 times stronger, more projective, throw out the music much louder than it did before. So those are the things that have changed, even though society's also changed. Now you have double insulated windows and they still hear it. So these are the things that go on. And you want to try it out, go live next to one of these locations, see what happens. It's not funny, it's not nice, and it's just, I'm just speaking what I hear and what I see myself. And the Miami ordinance, if you want a copy, I'll make a copy. I received it. I didn't even know it was here until I just saw it. And that's what I was reading as we were discussing other things and listening to the other things at the same time. So these are the things that I think you pass that ordinance, you haven't even given it a chance to walk, to express its feeling on what it's doing. And like the previous council member spoke about, noise is one thing, but blasting noise all over the place, and it doesn't go into effect until sometime later on in the evening. Miami ordinance goes into effect, if I recall reading it, at 10 o'clock at night, at 11 o'clock at night. There's different hours for different causes. So these are and it goes from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. So these are the things that I'm looking at, and the one from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., music from bars, clubs, and other business establishments. And it specifically says from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. So these are the things that are there. I'm not saying we should have Miami ordinance, not at all, but we have tried this one that was passed and then, for whatever reason, twisted around. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
My only concern is this, that's why when we first passed the original, we have a lot of crisis in the city with people having a place to live and they need jobs to be able to work to live. You know, I'm looking at August 13th, and then we're talking about, Mr. Dingfellows, if we repeal, talking about way June, July. I think that just for this type of order, I think it's too long, too drawn out. Right now, we've got, what, a total about 5 or 7 community events. Is that right, Ms. Post? That you having the community conversations, correct?
We have 7 that are scheduled. We've completed 3 of the 7.
And the completion of
And
those.
we were targeting for that April 28th workshop that the council requested us to come back to. So we've tried to do them pretty rapidly.
And that's where I'm going. If we've got the community conversation and you're gonna come back April 28th, by then you should be able to have some ideas of what should be inserted. My biggest concern, I know, I tell people, is Ybor. When you look at the Ybor, everybody says it's an entertainment district. And they thrive on some of the outdoor amplified sound. And they thrive on that. If you look at, you walk down there, on a Thursday through, I would say, probably Sunday, it's amplified sound because a lot of them have outside patios that people come and sit down. And in the evening time, instead of be stuck, and luckily when the cold weather was here, you had a place that people could be outside versus stuck inside, can still get some fresh air and do whatever. That's my concern because a lot of the employees count on a lot of businesses down there with that outside entertainment. So for me, I think that we can hold off on this until the April 28th workshop and then bring that back and then look at those changes at that time and then insert whatever, then come back with a first reading consideration. And again, I don't think there's a lot we need to add. I know Ms. Dingfield, we were rushed, but I think we've got a lot of stuff in there, and some things we need to insert or take out. But I think at this particular point, we've pretty much defined the ordinance per se, with a couple of exceptions, with a couple of areas, and with a couple of thoughts. And I'm just saying my suggestion is, at this particular point, we hold off until the April 28th workshop. It's not too far away. By that time, you've completed all the communications with the Ybor groups, the bar owners, and be able to come up with a good program to say, okay, this is what they're asking. Then you got your outside community areas. You're meeting with them, and you should be able to come up with a plan or idea at that April 28th workshop. I'm not in support of right now reading this ordinance today. I think we should hold off until the 28th because now you've already engaged the community in talking about what their needs are in the assessment of the process. And I think on the 28th, you can come back and make a sound judgment of this is what we had, this is what we implemented before, and be able to do what we need to do to go ahead and go forward with an ordinance at that particular time. That's my suggestion and recommendation. Mr. Dingfellow, you're recognized.
I hear what you're saying, and I respect you tremendously. I would ask each of you to soul search and say, are you happy with the ordinance that we adopted a month ago? Are you happy with that, every aspect of that ordinance? And I would say each one of us could look inside and say, no, I had problems with this. Ernie Mueller mentioned about the warning issue. You know, I think several of us expressed problems with that. Why would we leave something on the books and adopt it when we have problems with it? Okay? It doesn't change what's in place right now, but again, as I said a week or two ago, it sends a message. And this sends a message that we're not happy with what we did a month ago. We're going to repeal it. And we're all on the same page that come April, May, whatever, we're going to work on doing a better job and fixing it. But as of today, Mr. Maniscalco is going to read it. I'll be glad to second it. Let's repeal it, take a step back, send a message to the community that we didn't get it right completely, and we're going to step back and revisit it over the next 6 months.
And I can accept that.
That's where
Mr.
I'm coming
Defoe.
from.
I can accept that, but I don't think it needs to take 6 months. If you're saying repeal that ordinance.
They put the effective date of August. I don't know where that came from anyway. We can have something sooner.
If that's what you're looking to do, okay, I can see that. But I think by the 28th, that workshop, they should be able to define some of those issues and be able to come back later on with
I'm fine with that. We can expedite it.
Yeah, I just think the 13th is a long time away, August 13th. But I think if they're already having community conversations, if we repeal this today, they've already got the other draft already. Now they're just going back, inserting whatever on the workshop for us approval, and then we can move forward with whatever new ordinance you want to do. Now, I can live with that, but I just don't want it to be long and drawn out, you know.
I'm totally fine with that. I don't know
Mr.
where
Carlson,
August
you
came
raise your
from
hand?
anyway.
To the question Mr. Dickfeller just asked, I'm very happy with it the way it is. I don't have any problems with it. But once we passed it, the community came forward and gave us several suggestions. And we did build into it that we could make some changes if the community gave us some feedback. And that happens a lot of times with ordinances. There are some folks in Ybor that are concerned and they want some changes based on that. And then we know that Performing Arts Centers as a category has some concerns, and there may be others, but we can fix those between now and then. The difference is going to be whatever feedback you've heard from the Ybor folks. Even if we get rid of this, we're going to hear all of that feedback still going all the way through. But then we're going to hear from people in South Tampa. We're going to hear from people in Channelside who are irate that we repealed this, and they're going to then get involved in the process and making sure that it's even stronger. And to the, there are areas, like Mr. Randall said, there are areas that we can make this stronger. And for people pushing back against it in the rest of the city, we can add a lot more to it. But this is going to take a long process. Instead, we have a small fix with maybe Performing Centers and some Ybor bars, and we can fix that between now and then, instead of opening the thing back up where we're going to get hundreds and hundreds of emails and comments.
Shelby, I see your hand, so you recognize.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just a clarification, and Ms. Johnson-Velez, I'd appreciate you adding to this. There's talk about today to repeal this ordinance. This is only the first step in the process. This is on the agenda for first reading consideration, and the action today. Madam Clerk, if this does move forward today, this does not repeal the ordinance, what happens the process from there, and Ms. Johnson-Velez can confirm. Well, what number 4? If number 4 moves forward today, that does not repeal anything at this point in time. Is that correct?
Because we have second reading.
Yeah, exactly. But I just want to be clear on the process.
You will have to go to second reading.
And when would that be?
The second reading date should be March 17th.
And then that would be a public hearing, an adoption public hearing?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Johnson-Velez, did you want to just add anything to that, to the process?
No, I just thank you, Susan Johnson-Velez, Legal Department. I did just want to clarify, though, that the ordinance that was adopted on January 13th, the effective date is 6 months from the date of adoption. I don't have the exact date, but it's 6 months from January 13th of 2022.
And Chairman Goods, if I can comment on that for a moment. I think Councilman Dingfelder asked where that surfaced from, and that was actually in response to a lot of feedback that we received. As you know, we workshopped this ordinance over the past year and a half, and there was a pretty unanimous sense of, once it would move forward, to give particularly businesses an opportunity to adapt and adjust to it, as well as for the TPD to adjust to the changes around the enforcement piece. So having that 6 month implementation period was responsive to the feedback that we received during all of the workshops and outreach. It can certainly be changed, but I wanted you to know the background of where that 6-month implementation came from.
Thank you. You reckon?
Ms. Post, it might have come from me in the motion when we passed it, because we wanted to build into the system that we would have plenty of time to make the changes that the community wanted.
Well, when it was adopted, when it was presented, it came forward to you with that 6-month implementation time period. To your point, though, at the time it was adopted, I think everyone would recall there was somewhat conditional approval, my terms, contingent on the subsequent motion to immediately begin to resurface the outreach and engagement to refine it. So to the point of there being some reluctance to adopt every aspect of it, when it was adopted, it was immediately followed by your concerns. We heard your concerns and hence have set up these 7 scheduled outreach events to continue to tweak it. And I would emphasize that it is our plan to come back on April 28th with changes. We're not simply going out to have these outreach events and come back and reflect that the ordinance is fine as it is. We respect that there are balancing of interests and different opinions about it, and you will see changes made to it when it comes back on April 28th.
Mr. Vera, I see your hand, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Just briefly, a lot has been said on this. I voted for Councilman Dingfelder's motion because of what I see as a lot of times in elected office, there's a lot of competing interests, and you want to. And when I say please everybody, I don't mean that as a bad thing. It's a natural human inclination to try to find peace and try to find common ground, et cetera. But I think that in a good faith effort to do that, we wound up creating essentially a fiction, which is we passed an ordinance that's not going to take place for some time, and then in between that time we're going to workshop it, we're going to potentially change the ordinance. Well, then the negative effects of that ordinance are still hanging over the heads of people that will be adversely affected. I think that for me is a dispositive issue that moves me here. I've heard from a lot of the neighborhoods, folks from Channel Side, et cetera. Their concerns are beyond legitimate, and they will be addressed, and it will be passed, and it will be implemented, I think, on time, as it's scheduled to do right now under this motion, I believe, except without the negative effects of it hanging over the heads of businesses that have been battered over the last 2 years or so. That, for me, is a dispositive moving issue for me. Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? All right, Mr. Mescal, you say you want to take a stab at it, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have an ordinance being presented for first reading consideration, an ordinance of the City of Tampa, Florida, repealing ordinance number 2022-18 relating to the regulation of noise, City of Tampa Code of Ordinances, Chapter 14, Article 3, noise, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
Second.
Second by Mr. Dingfelder. Roll call.
Carlson?
No.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Vieira? Citro?
No.
Miranda?
No.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
And Goods.
It's my better judgment. I'm gonna vote yes.
Motion carried with Carlson, Citro, and Miranda voting no. Second reading and adoption will be held on March 17, 2022 at 9:30 a.m.
And let me make it clear, I voted no on it for the record. And I understand Mr. Vera's point, which is valid. A lot of businesses are concerned that with something lingering, they can't do what they need to do for their businesses. And they're very fearful. So I do understand that, and I thank him for pointing that out. So I think we can get this thing worked out by the 28th. To be honest with 7 community workshops, I believe they can bring some things back and we can get something pushed through by that deadline of August. Thank you, ladies. All right, we'll go into consent agenda item. Okay,
Mr. Chair, I'd like
12.
to move items 5 through 12, please.
Second by Mr. Maniscalco. Roll call.
Maniscalco? Yes. Vieira? Citro?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
And Goode.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right, Mr. Maniscalco, Parks
Thank
and
you
Rec,
very
13,
much.
17.
I'd like to move items 13 through 17.
Second.
Second by Mr. Miranda, roll call.
Viera? Citro? Miranda?
Yes.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
And Goode.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously with Citro being absent at vote.
Mr. Dingfelder, you read items 18 through 27, excluding 23, because you asked for it to be pulled for discussion.
Yes, sir. Mr. Chairman, I'll move items 18 through 22 and 24 through 27.
Second.
All right, second by Mr. Miranda, roll call.
Citro? Miranda?
Yes.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Viera? And Goode.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously with Citro being absent at vote.
Mr. Miranda, Finance Committee, 28 through 32, sir.
Yes, sir. Move items 28 through 32, sir.
Second.
Second by Mr. Maniscalco, roll call.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Viera? Citro? Miranda?
Yes.
And Goode.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously with Citro being absent at vote.
Mr. Carlson, Building Preservations, 33 through 44.
Yes, sir. I'd like to move.
Minus 38, 39, if we're going to agree with
Hold on a
Ms.
second.
Van Loon's request.
Was that pulled?
Well, we didn't address it, I don't think, earlier, but I guess we should.
No, there's a
Move to
request to
continue.
continue.
Request to continue.
Move to continue to March 17, 38, and 39.
All right.
Second.
Second by Mr. Carlson, all in favor?
Aye.
We're going to roll call on it, Mr. Shelby? All right,
That'll be fine.
Approved. All right.
I'd like to move items number 33 through 37 and 40 through 44.
Second.
Second by Mr. Dingfelder. Roll call.
Carlson?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Viera? Citro? Miranda?
Yes.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
And Goode.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously with Citro being absent at vote.
Mr. Viera, Transportation, 45 to 48.
Yes, sir. I hereby move items 45 through 48.
Second.
Second by Mr. Maniscalco. Roll call.
Miranda?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Viera? Citro? Dingfelder?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
And Goode.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously with Citro being absent at vote.
Move
All
to
right,
set
mi-
the public hearings 49 through 52.
Second.
Oh, we want to go back to 23 so we can finish up that first,
23?
number 23 that you asked to be pulled, sir?
I thought we were going to.
What was that again?
Let's do it during staff reports. I want to hear from staff.
All right, you wanna
I'm sorry,
wanna do
Mr.
some
Chairman.
staff
I
reports?
want to hear from staff on 23. So
All
that was the intent of pulling it.
All right. Mr. Dingfelder wants to hear item number 23 on staff, from staff, so if staff is listening, 23 will be heard during that time.
And
All right.
that would be under staff report at
Then we're on the
1:30.
staff reports. Yes, sir.
And again, Mr. Chairman, forgive me, but did you move the items for consent?
Yes,
Yeah.
we've already moved the items, all the way to we moved all the items.
52, up to
Yes, we moved the items. We're now to 49 now. I think Mr. Maniscalco had the floor.
Second.
Yes. 49
Second.
through 52. Yes.
452, Mr. Maniscalco, Mr. Dingfelder, seconded. Roll call.
Citro?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Viera? And Goode.
Yes,
Motion carried unanimously.
thank you. Can we get the public hearings open?
Move to
Mr. Chair-
open the
Mr.
public
Chair-
hearings
You're
53
recognized, sir.
through 72.
Forgive me, Mr. Chairman, there was some confusion and staff is asking for clarification with regard to item number 4. Can the clerk repeat the vote on item number 4 again, please?
On which item?
Item number 4?
4?
That was the noise ordinance?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
4 to 3, correct?
Yeah, repeat.
Again, the vote was,
Motion made by Maniscalco, seconded by Dingfelder. Motion carried with Carlson, Citro, and Miranda voting no. Second reading and adoption will be held on March 17, 2022 at 9:30 a.m.
thank you very much.
Can we continue, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, getting moved to open the public hearings.
So moved. 53 to, what is it, 72? Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes, 52, 72. Second,
Second.
second, Mr. Dingfelder, all in favor?
Aye.
All in opposed? All right, motion granted. Item number 53.
Council members, Morris Massey, Deputy City Attorney, in connection with item number 53. This is a what we call a notice of intent public hearing to expand the downtown special services district to levy the non-ad valorem or special assessment that is levied in the downtown area, extend that to the area that's known as Encore. We levy this pursuant to section 197.3632 Florida statutes, which is called the uniform method. And under the statute, we have to have a notice of intent hearing before the assessment roll is approved, and the notice of intent hearing has to occur prior to March 1st. And so this resolution, if approved, would state your notice of intent to expand that district and to levy the special assessment within the Encore area that's adjacent to the downtown special district. As you all, I think, are aware, we've levied for some time now a ad valorem special assessment within the downtown special services district to pay for a number of enhanced services that are provided to the Tampa Downtown Partnership, benefiting property owners, businesses, or residents located in the district. The partnership and Tampa Housing Authority have indicated to us that they would like to expand the district to include the Encore area. And as stated, we're having this hearing because this would extend the district to that area for the first time, and we're required to have that hearing under the statute. This is a notice of intent hearing only. The actual roll would not be presented to you all until August. Notice of the hearing has been published for 4 consecutive weeks as required by Florida law. I believe there are representatives from the partnership and Tampa Housing Authority here to speak on this, as well as maybe members of the public. City Council should hear from those representatives and the public before voting on the resolution. And you should actually vote on the resolution before you close the public hearing, because the statute requires that the resolution be passed during the public hearing. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for the gentleman? All right. I guess we'll hear from the applicants, I guess, down to the partnership. I see Mr. Moore for THA on the line. All right. Mr. Moore, you'd like to go first?
I think Sean from Downtown Partnership was going to lead off.
All right, Sean.
All right, good morning.
What?
Mr. Chairman, City Council members, as mentioned, I'm Sean Drinker, Senior Director of Public Programming and Operations for the Downtown Partnership. The partnership's president and CEO, Linda Raymond, sends her regrets as she's out today traveling on business. I'm here today to speak in support of the Encore project being included in the Special Service District. As you know, these properties include affordable market rate housing and retail. I believe Mr. Moore is going to speak next a little bit about the footprint of Encore itself. The partnership and its board, they fully support Encore. Inclusion into the SSD would allow the partnership to administer services outlined in the agreement that we have with the City of Tampa. These services include marketing, transportation initiatives, beautification, litter abatement, maintenance, ambassador services through the downtown guides, and homeless liaison efforts as well. Additionally, some of the new public spaces, they would be included in the SSD, giving the partnership the opportunity to provide activation through some of the programming efforts. The partnership recognizes the need to have affordable housing and workforce housing as we appreciate this opportunity to incorporate Encore within the boundaries of the Special Service District. With City Council's approval, this item would be included for final approval to public hearing in late August, with service beginning on the expanded area October 1st of 2022. Thanks for your time. Appreciate the opportunity.
Any questions for the gentleman? Mr. Dinkle, your hands up, sir?
Yes, sir. I had a question, perhaps for Mr. Massey, and I'm not sure if you addressed it earlier, Morris. I know some of the buildings and property in Encore is perhaps subject to property taxes more so than others. Maybe Mr. Moore can help us out in that regard as well. But I know this assessment is over and above property taxes, but are all the buildings going to be subject to this assessment? And that's question number one. And if they are, I guess I would ask Mr. Moore if that's a good or bad thing as related to affordable housing. So,
I believe they all would be subject to the assessment. For instance, the University of Tampa is within this district, and they're generally exempt from property taxes, but they do pay this special assessment for this enhanced services. So I believe they would be subject to that.
Yes. And City Council, on behalf of Tampa Housing Authority, we are in support of joining the SSD and having the enhanced services extended to Encore. As you know, Encore is immediately north of downtown. In fact, one of our lots, Lot 10, is actually half in the CBD and half in the Encore district. We have a CDD for Encore that is getting ready that would have to provide these same kind of services, and it would be duplicative, and we think it would be less effective, less efficient for us to gear up to provide the kind of services that we want, so that there's not a drop off in services as you leave Cash Street. We want Encore and downtown services to mirror and be more seamless. And we feel that the partnership's done a tremendous job at providing that services in downtown, and instead of assessing it within the CDD, through the Encore CDD, we would rather join the downtown SSD. The Housing Authority owns in excess of 80% of the 28 acres of Encore. We do have now 2 private owners. The 2 private owners are not yet, we have not gotten their agreement to be taxed. That's a tough thing to ask anyone to do, but they're already part of the CDD. So they will be assessed in the CDD if we were not going to join the SSD for these types of services. It is the Housing Authority's belief and that these services are needed at Encore, so that there's equity between these neighborhoods. As you transition between neighborhoods, you should not be able to determine which neighborhoods are better maintained than others in terms of the public realm experience. From the standpoint of taxes, Councilman Dingfelder, I believe you asked, we are paying taxes on the 4 buildings that are operated now. The other 2 privately owned buildings are just getting ready to come on the tax rolls. Of course, we pay less property taxes based on the types of units that we operate. So for those affordable units, they're typically not taxed, but we have market rate units in all of our family buildings. We also have commercial retail in the ground floor of all of our buildings. So all of these buildings are leveled some property taxes, and we will be assessed in the SSD based on that valuation.
thank you, sir. Just as a follow-up, Mr. Chairman, I think Encore, so far anyway, seems like a big success. And I love the mixed housing and affordable mixed with market rate, and that's the way all of our developments should be. That's kind of what I was saying last week at the CRA meeting. And instead of those 2,500 units downtown being built just as market rate, they should have some sort of inclusionary type of affordable workforce housing, and we missed that boat. But you guys didn't miss that boat, Mr. Moore. The Housing Authority anticipated and saw the need and met the need with Encore, and we love Meacham Gardens too, by the way. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Moore, just to be clear, is the CDD expiring, or will it be replaced by this? And how do the fees compare?
No, the Encore CDD is not expiring. The Encore CDD will continue. The Encore CDD is also the maintenance entity as well as the billing entity for the district-wide chiller plant that's on site there. So as we move into the CDD, any services that are already being collected on the CDD side, as we move into the SSD, we would reduce the assessments related to those services in terms of, trash collection and public realm improvements that's going to be done on the SSD side.
Thank you.
But no, it's not expiring.
All right, anyone else? Anything else to add, Mr. Moore?
No, thank you.
All right. Mr. Shell, we need to see if anybody here to speak on this item, correct?
Pardon me, sir?
We need to make sure we don't have anybody to speak on this item, correct?
Well, yes, you should open the floor for a public hearing and see if
All right,
there's
anybody on the second floor to speak on this item? Anyone on the second floor to speak on this item?
No speakers.
Thank you, sir. We everyone registered, Madam Clerk?
No one is registered for this item.
Move the resolution.
Second.
All right, Mr. Maniscalco moved it, Mr. Miranda second, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion granted.
Move to close the public hearing.
All right, Mr. Maniscalco moved it, second by Mr. Miranda, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion granted. Item 54.
Good morning, Council. This is Jennifer Malone with the Hillsborough County Planning Commission. I'm here to open on item 54, which is a privately initiated text amendment amending Land Use Policy 5.1.6. I'm available for questions.
Any question for Ms. Malone? All right, no question for Ms. Malone. All right. I see staff just jumped on. Mr. Hudson?
Good morning, Council. Tyler Hudson, 400 North Ashley Drive. I'm the applicant on this text amendment. There have been no changes between first and second reading. None were requested. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have and would appreciate your support again this morning. Thank you.
Any questions for the gentleman? All right. Is anyone on the second floor to speak on this item?
No.
Anyone ready to speak on this item?
No one is registered.
Move to close.
Mr. Maniscalco has moved it.
Second.
Second by Mr. Miranda, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion granted. I think we left off to Mr. Vieira, Mr. Maniscalco, 54, we read?
Yeah, sure. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I have an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. Ordinance amending the Imagine 2040 Tampa Comprehensive Plan, future land use element amending land use policy 5.1.6 that would allow lands outside an urban village to proportionately weigh the FAR over the entire site and permitted uses within each of the land use plan categories to be considered anywhere on site if, one, such land is located within a half-mile radius of an urban village boundary, and two, such project is approved through a plan development or plan development alternative zoning that is at least 1 acre, and providing that this amendment shall not apply to any lands outside of the Central Tampa Planning District, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, providing an effective date.
All right. Second by Mr. Vieira, roll call.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Maniscalco?
Yes.
Vieira? Citro?
I did watch the recordings of this hearing, and yes, I can be very impartial.
Yes.
Miranda?
No.
And Goose.
Yes.
Motion carried with Miranda voting no.
All right, item number 55.
Jennifer Malone again with your Planning Commission. Item 55 is TACPA 21-11. This is the publicly initiated FAR option text amendment initiated by City Council. I am available for any questions.
Any questions for the lady? All right, no questions. All right, I see Ms. Susan Johnson-Velez, are you on reference to this?
Susan Johnson Velez, Legal Department. Mr. Chair, thank you. I have nothing further to add at this time.
All right. Okay, anyone here to speak on this item? On the second floor, speak on this item?
No speakers.
All right, anyone ready to speak on this item?
No one is registered.
And move close. Mr. Vieira, second by Mr. Carlson, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion granted. Mr. Carlson?
Sure. I'd like to move file number TACPA 2111, ordinance amending the Imagine 2040 Tampa Comprehensive Plan future land use element, establishing a geographic area of the city within which the FAR option can be used for single-use multifamily projects within the community mixed-use 35 CMU 35, community commercial 35, CC 35, and urban mixed use 60, UMU 60 categories, and upon adoption of this amendment, prohibiting the use of the FAR option for single-use multifamily residential projects within the South Tampa or New Tampa planning districts, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, providing effective date.
Second by Mr. Maniscalco. Roll call.
Citro,
Again, I did watch recordings of this hearing. Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Viera. Miranda, Dingfelder.
Yes.
And Goose.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously with Miranda being absent at vote.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir, you reckon?
So I handed out this memo. Beach Park would like us to make this other motion. Is it possible we could make it now instead of new business? And if somebody else would like to make it besides me, please go ahead.
You make it, I'll second it.
Anybody else want to make it instead?
All right, go ahead, you make the motion, sir. We're on 55.
I'd like to make a motion to direct the staff to, or ask the staff, I'd like to make a motion to ask the staff to initiate an ordinance to amend the 2040 plan to prohibit the use of the FAR option for single-use multifamily residential projects within the South Tampa planning district.
Second.
Second by Mr. Maniscalco. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion granted. Thank you, sir.
May I just ask clarification? Mr. Chairman, maker of the motion, was that anything related to the RMU 100 category specifically, or not necessarily? Is it what, as you stated?
Why don't I just add on, it doesn't say that what they gave us, but specifically addressing the RMU.
Well, you got the memo, right?
Yeah.
What?
I think,
You recognize?
thank you. Mr. Shelby and Mr. Carlson, it says mixed use. For single-use multifamily residential projects within the South Tampa Planning District, the FAR option, I guess it doesn't say mixed use, but I think that, I'm a little concerned about limiting it to a certain category. Maybe we should just say, as related to mixed use or something like that, but.
I'll just leave it as read, and then we can talk to staff.
That'll be fine.
And also, is there a date to come back?
Just put a note on there to meet with Mr. Carlson in reference to the motion.
Mr. Chairman, is there a staff member who would be able to assist, just to make sure it's clear before? Ms. Malone is present.
Can I just add, as pertaining to the memo supplied by Beach Park Neighborhood Association?
Ms. Malone,
Ms.
you
Malone.
recognize?
Jennifer Malone with the Planning Commission. It would be helpful in the motion if you would add that you would like this initiated as part of the February 2022 cycle of plan amendments, and then we can add it to the February cycle, and begin working on this.
Okay, I'll add that then, please. So the two things we'll add besides the, let me just read again. Motion to ask staff to initiate an ordinance to amend the 2040 plan to prohibit the use of the FAR option for single-use multifamily residential projects within the South Tampa Planning District as part of the February plan amendment process, and in reference to the memo received by Beach Park Homeowners Association.
Second.
All right, second by Maniscalco. All in favor? Any
Oh.
opposed? Motion granted. Ms. Velez, you recognize?
Oh, I was hoping to catch you before. Susan Johnson, Velez Legal Department. And I think, and I just, again, for clarification, for purpose of moving forward with the amendment. So this is with respect to Ms. Swift's and Beach Park Neighborhood Association's request to add the RMU 100 category to this comp plan provision.
Yes, that's how I understand it. I just read the specific language that they gave me, which I was told was worked out with staff, so I apologize if it wasn't.
So let's,
Okay.
the motion is made, and let's just get you to Ms. Malone and Ms. Velez, just get with Mr. Carlson offline, and that way we can enter specifics with pertaining to Beach Park and Ms. Swift's memo. That be fine?
Yes, that would be
All
fine.
right.
Thank you,
Madam
sir.
Clerk, do we have it?
Thank you all.
That's
That was a young lady who spoke this
Yes,
morning,
sir.
I believe.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
All right, we'll move on to item 56.
Jennifer Malone again with the Planning Commission. Item 56 is TACPA 2119. This is a privately initiated plan amendment to go from residential 10 to residential 20 at 720 West Columbus Drive. I'm available for questions.
Any questions for the lady? All right. Mr. LaRocca? We can't hear you, sir.
Is that better?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm just here to answer questions. I represent the applicant owner, Mid-Century Holdings. And again, nothing to add from the first public hearing.
Any questions for the applicant? Being none, anyone on the second floor speak on this item? All right, anyone registered for this item?
No one is registered.
All right, we'll close.
So move.
Ms. Miranda?
Second.
Second by Mr. Citro. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion granted. Mr. Citro.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and I would like to also add that I did watch the videotapes of this proceeding. File number TACPA 21-19 ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, an ordinance amending the Imagine 2040 Tampa Comprehensive Plan, future land use element, future land use map for the property located at 720 West Columbus Drive from residential 10, R10, to residential 20, R20, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
Second.
Second by Mr. Dingfelder. Roll call.
Maniscalco? Vieira? Citro?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
And Goods.
Yeah.
And Goods.
Yes, ma'am.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right. Number 57.
Jennifer Malone again with the Planning Commission. Item 57 is a publicly initiated text amendment to the comprehensive plan, adding the property rights element to be consistent with House Bill 59. I'm available for any questions.
All right, any questions for Mr. Malone? All right. Anyone else to speak on this item? We have an applicant for this item? No one registered?
This was publicly
Publicly
initiated,
initiated,
so
okay.
there's no applicant.
Anyone on the second floor speak on this item?
No speakers, sorry.
All right, move to close.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Maniscalco, second by Mr. Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion granted. Mr. Dingfelder, your shot at it, sir.
Item 58?
57.
57, one ahead. Okay. And as Mr. Citro stated, since we were both absent that day, I have reviewed the tapes and I'm fully prepared to vote. I'll move an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, an ordinance amending the Imagine 2040 Tampa Comprehensive Plan, future land use element, to comply with House Bill 59, which became effective July 1, 2021. That requires each local government to adopt a property rights element into its comprehensive plan, which property rights element is intended to acknowledge and respect private property rights and ensure they are considered in the local decision-making process, providing for repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability, providing an effective
Second.
date.
Second by Mr. Miranda. Roll call.
Vieira? Yes. Citro?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
Carlson? Maniscalco?
Yes.
And Goods.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right, item 58.
Mr. Chair.
You're recognized.
I need to, I recused myself from this last time. I need to recuse myself again.
Yes, sir.
May I get my form approved?
Yes, sir.
If I could ask folks to receive and file my form, I need to state the company by whom I retained does business with the Florida Conference of United Methodist Church, which has an interest in this matter.
All right, Mr. Carlson asked to receive and file his paperwork.
Second.
Second by Mr. Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion granted. Thank you, sir.
That's your copy.
Okay, thank you.
All right, item 58.
Jennifer Malone again with your Planning Commission. Item 58 is a privately initiated text amendment amending property at 4510 South Manhattan from public, semi-public to community mixed use 35 and residential 10. It's privately initiated and I'm available for any questions.
Any question for Ms. Malone? All right, being none, we go to the applicant. Ms. Kirk.
Thank you, Rebecca Kurt, representing Lennar Homes on this project, 400 North Tampa Street, Suite 1910. I'm available if there are any questions.
Any question for Ms. Clerk? All right. Anyone on the second floor to speak on this item?
There is no one other than me here.
Thank you, Ms. Karen. Anyone registered to speak on this item?
No one is registered.
All right, move to close.
So moved. Second.
Maniscalco, second, Citro, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion granted. Mr. Dingfelder? No, sorry, Mr. Miranda, I'm sorry. So 58.
Thank you, Mr.
sir.
Chairman. Item number 58, file number TA CPA 21-22, orders being presented for second reading and adoption. An ordinance amending the Image 2040 Tampa Comprehensive Plan Future Land Use Element, Future Land Use Map for the property located at 4510 South Manhattan Avenue from public, semi-public P/SP to community mixed use, 35 CMU-35 and residential 10, R10, providing for repeal of all ordinance in conflict, providing for severability, providing the effective date, original motion approved by first reading by initiated by myself and Mr. Maniscalco.
Second.
I read it all.
Second by Mr. Maniscalco. Roll call.
Citro,
I have seen this on recording, yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Dingfelder.
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Viera, and Goose.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously with Carlson abstaining.
All right. Item number 59.
And Mr. Chairman, the
You
remaining,
recognize?
I'm sorry, yes, just the remaining items, the second readings are quasi-judicial, just so council's aware.
I didn't hear Mr. Shelby.
I'm sorry, the remaining hearings, 59 through 72, are quasi-judicial
Yes,
matters.
sir.
Thank you.
All right. Item number 59.
Good morning,
I'm
Council.
sorry,
Annie
Victoria.
Barnes, Development Coordination. Before I continue, can I please be sworn in?
Yes, she's going to swear you in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do, yes.
Thank you.
All right. Ms. Barnes?
Annie Barnes, Development Coordination. Item number 59 is REZ 2175, is an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption for 2701 East Fowler Avenue. The request is to rezone the property from CI, commercial intensive, and CG to PD for residential multifamily uses, retail sales, specifically convenience goods. Site plans were dropped off to City Hall yesterday. I'm available for any questions if you have any.
Any question for Ms. Barnes? All right. Being none, we'll go to the applicant.
Good morning, Colin Rice, on behalf of the applicant, 101 East Kennedy Boulevard, Suite 2800. All revisions for first reading have been completed and submitted. We're happy to answer any questions. Appreciate your time this morning and request your approval. Thank you.
Any question for the applicant? All right. Anyone on the second floor speak on this item? Anyone on the second floor speak on this item?
No, sorry, no speakers.
Let me ask a question. Is there anybody on that second floor, sir?
Yes, we have
Okay, all right.
speakers for number 60.
All right, sir. All right. Anyone online to speak, Madam Clerk?
No one is registered.
All right, move to close by Mr. Maniscalco.
Second.
Second by Mr. Randall, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion granted. Back to Mr. Vieira, 59, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I move an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 2701 East Fowler Avenue, City of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in Section 1 from zoning district classification CI, commercial intensive, and CG, commercial general, to planned development, to PD, planned development, residential, multifamily, and retail sales, convenience goods, providing an effective date.
Second.
So, Mr. Maniscalco, roll call, please.
Citro, Miranda,
Yes.
Dingfelder.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Viera. And Goose.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Item number 60.
Thank you, Council. Annie Barnes, Development Coordination. Item number 60 is REZ 2181, is an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption for 4701 North Armenia Avenue. The request is to rezone the property from CG, Commercial General, and PD, Planned Development, to Planned Development for business professional office uses. Site plans were dropped off at City Hall yesterday and available for any questions if needed.
Any question, Ms. Barnes? All right, do we have an applicant?
I am, sir. Thank you so much, George Lorenzo. We have complied with all the requested revisions and are here if there's any questions, Your Honor.
Any questions for the applicant? All right, is anyone else here to speak on this item on the second floor?
No other speakers.
Thank you, sir. Anyone registered?
No one is registered.
Move to close.
Moved by Ms. Maniscalco, second by Mr. Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion granted. Mr. Maniscalco, number 60.
Thank you very much. I have an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. Ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 4701 North Armenia Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in Section 1 from zoning district classification CG Commercial General and PD Plan Development to PD Plan Development Business Professional Office, providing an effective date.
Second by Mr. Vieira. Roll call.
Miranda,
Yes.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Vieira.
Yes.
Citro.
Yes.
And Goose.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right, item number 61.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Council. Annie Barnes, Development Coordination. Item number 61 is REZ 2191. It's an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption for 1909 North Florida Avenue rear unit. The request is to rezone the property from CI, Commercial Intensive, to RM24, Residential Multifamily. I'm available for any questions if needed.
Any questions for Ms. Barnes? All right, do we have an applicant? Do we have an applicant online or on the second floor? No one registered. All right, do we have anyone on the second floor to speak on this item 61?
No speakers on the second floor.
No one registered, correct?
Move to
Close. Ms. Maniscalco.
Second.
Second by Mr. Rand. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion granted. Mr. Carlson, do the honors. Number 61.
Yes, I'd like to move file number REZ 2191, an ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 1909 North Florida Avenue rear unit in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in Section 1 from zoning district classification CI Commercial Intensive to RM 24 Residential Multifamily, providing an effective date.
Second.
Second by Mr. Maniscalco. Roll call.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Vieira.
Yes.
Citro.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
And Goose.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Item number 62.
Thank you, Council. Annie Barnes, Development Coordination. Item number 62 is REZ 21108. This is an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption for 3921 West State Street. The request is to rezone the property from RS50 Residential Single Family to Planned Development for residential single family attached, semi-detached uses. Site plans were dropped off at City Hall yesterday. I'm available for any questions if needed.
All right, any questions for Ms. Barnes? All right, none from Ms. Barnes, the applicant? Unmute yourself, sir. Please be sworn to. Please be sworn in, sir.
Sorry, my name is John. Good morning, I'm John Cavicles, just here for any questions.
Please swear in.
He only has questions.
All right, no questions, okay. All right, any questions for the gentleman? No. All right, anyone on the second floor to speak on this item?
No speakers, second floor.
All right, anyone registered?
No one is registered.
We close.
So move.
Mr.
Second.
Miranda, second by Maniscalco, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion granted. Mr. Citro?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. File number REZ 21-108. An ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. An ordinance rezoning the property in the general vicinity of 3921 West State Street in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in Section 1 from zoning district classification RS50 Residential Single Family to PD Planned Development Residential Single Family Semi-Detached, providing for an effective date.
Second.
Second by Mr. Maniscalco, roll call.
Carlson. Yes. Maniscalco.
Yes.
Vieira.
Yes.
Citro.
Yes.
Miranda. Dingfelder.
Yes.
And Goose.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you,
Item number
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Item number 63.
Thank you, Council. Annie Barnes. Item number 63 is REZ 21111. It's an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption for 301 East Oak Avenue. The request is to rezone the property from residential multifamily 24 to PD Planned Development for business professional office uses. Site plans have been dropped off to City Hall yesterday. I'm available for any questions if needed.
Any questions, Ms. Barnes? All right, we're from the applicant.
Hi, my name is Andrew Matson. I'm located at 1907 East 7th Avenue,
Ms.
and I'm
Williams?
here to answer any questions you have.
All right. He has no question. He's swear him in. So, second floor,
No speakers on the second floor.
anyone registered?
No one is registered.
Move to close. Mr. Maniscalco, second by Mr. Aranda, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion granted. Mr. Dingfelder, will you please serve 63?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In regard to item 63, file RAZ 21-111, I'll move the following ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity 301 East Oak Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida for second reading, and more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification, excuse me, RM24, residential multifamily, to PD plan development, business professional office, providing an effective date.
Second. Second by Mr. Maniscalco. Roll call.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Vieira,
Yes.
Citro,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
and Goods.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Item 64.
Thank you, Council. Annie Barnes. Item number 64 is REZ 21-113. It's an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption for 1802 North Armenia Avenue. The request is to rezone the property from RM16 residential multifamily to CN commercial neighborhood. I'm available for any questions if needed.
Any questions from Ms. Barnes? All right, we have an applicant.
Yes, I'm the applicant, Clyde Darville,
Swear you in, sir?
4315 North Riverview Avenue.
Swear you in, sir? Madam Clerk?
Yes.
Be sworn
Sworn
in.
in?
I can't see him.
Can't see him. Can you raise your hand to be sworn in, sir?
Do you swear or affirm that?
Yes.
Raise your right hand.
There you go, sir. Thank you.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, you can begin, sir. Thank you. You state your name, you can begin, sir.
I'm basically here to answer any questions y'all might have.
All right, sir. Thank you. Anyone else on the second floor to speak on this item, 64?
No other speakers.
Thank you, sir. Anyone registered?
No one is registered.
Move to close.
Ms. Scalco's moved, Miranda seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion granted. Mr. Miranda, your turn, 64, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. File number REZ 21-113, ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. Known as rezoning property in general vicinity of 1802 North Armenia Avenue, the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification RM16 residential multifamily to CN commercial neighborhood, providing an effective date.
Second by Mr. Maniscalco. Roll call.
Vieira,
Yes.
Citro,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
and Goods.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Item 65.
Thank you, Council. Annie Barnes, Development Coordination. Item number 65 is REZ 21-116. It's an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption for 502 South Melville Avenue. The request is to rezone the property from RM16 residential multifamily to RM24, also residential multifamily. I'm available for any questions if needed.
Any questions, Ms. Barnes? All right, we have an applicant, 65? All right, do we have an applicant for 65? All right, anyone on the second floor speak on this item?
No speakers, sir.
All right,
No
anyone
one is
registered?
registered.
Move to close.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Scalco, second by Mr. Randall, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion granted. Mr. Vieira, we're back to you, sir. Item 65.
Yes, sir. I hereby move an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, an ordinance rezoning property in general vicinity of 502 South Melville Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in section 1 from zoning district classification RM16 residential multifamily to RM24 residential multifamily, providing an effective date.
Second.
Second by Mr. Miranda, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Roll call.
I'm sorry, roll call.
Citro,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Carlson, Maniscalco,
Yes.
Vieira, and Goods.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right, item number 66.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Council.
Item number 66.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Wiles, Chief Assistant City Attorney for the record, with regard to item number 66, REZ 21-35, City Council received correspondence from Ethan Loeb requesting that Councilman Dingfelder recuse himself, as Steve Nicolini is the applicant in that matter.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, sir.
I would like to read a short statement. Due to false and misleading media coverage about me related to the public records requests and subpoenas directed to city council members made by a representative of this applicant, I'm going to abstain from matters related to this applicant today. I do not believe that the applicant was directly involved in any false stories related to me, and I believe that I could be fair and impartial on applications related to this applicant, as I have always been. However, in abundance of caution, I will abstain today, as I do not want my constituents to be concerned that my votes are on any of these matters are in any way affected by these outside considerations, so I abstain. And I would like to, please, Mr. Chair, just ask that my Form 8B be received and filed.
All right. Second by Mr. Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion is granted. Mr. Dingfelder, you
Yeah,
recognize?
just as a point of order, since Ms. Wells brought it up, I can be fair and impartial in regard to this matter. I've reviewed the videotape and I'm ready, prepared to vote.
If I may, just
Thank
for
you,
the
Mr. Chair.
record, the city attorney's recommendation is that Councilman Dingfelder recuse himself. It has been that has been our consistent recommendation on this issue.
Thank you.
You're good with that, Mr. Dingfelder?
No, I heard her. Thank you.
All right, yes, sir. All right, we will proceed. Item number 66.
Thank you, Council. Annie Barnes, Development Coordination. Item number 66 is REZ 2135. It's an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption for 2302 North Highland Avenue. The request is to rezone the property from RM24 residential multifamily to PD planned development for residential multifamily uses. Site plans were dropped off to City Hall yesterday. I'm available for any questions if needed.
Any questions, Ms. Barnes? All right, no questions. We'll hear from the applicant.
Good morning, Council. The
Sworn in,
revised,
sir?
Steve Michelini, yes, I've been sworn.
All right, sir.
The revised site plans have been transmitted to the city staff, and they've been certified. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have, while respectfully requesting your approval.
Any questions for the applicant? All right, with being none, anyone on the second floor speak on this item?
No speakers at this time.
Anyone registered for this item?
No one is registered.
All right, move to Mr. Maniscalco, second by Mr. Miranda, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion granted. Ms. Maniscalco, we're back to you for item 66, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I have an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, an ordinance rezoning property in the general vicinity of 2302 North Highland Avenue in the city of Tampa, Florida, and more particularly described in Section 1 from zoning district classifications RM24 residential multifamily to PD plan development residential multifamily, providing an effective date.
Second.
Second by Mr. Miranda. Roll call.
Yes.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Maniscalco. Yes. Vieira. Citro.
Yes.
And Goose.
Yes.
Motion carried with Vieira voting no and Carlson abstaining.
All right, thank you. Item number 67.
Thank you, Council. Annie Barnes. Item number 67 is AB 2123. It's an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption for 2201 North Florida Avenue for a special use 2 for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue, beer, wine, and liquor for consumption on premises only. Site plans were dropped off to City Hall yesterday. I'm available for any questions if needed.
Mr. Chairman,
You recognize you.
a question with regard to AB 21-23, just for the record that a letter was received by the chair from Attorney Ethan Loeb requesting that the firm representing Mr. Michelini is also requesting that Councilmember Dingfelder recuse himself, and also just to bring to Councilman Carlson's attention the fact that this is a case that also involves Mr. Michelini.
Yes, sir, I'd like to make a statement,
Recognize.
please. Due to false and misleading media coverage about me related to the public records requests and subpoenas directed to city council members by a representative of this applicant, I am going to abstain from matters related to this applicant today. I do not believe that the applicant was directly involved in any false stories related to me, and I believe that I could be fair and impartial in applications related to this applicant, as I have always been. However, in abundance of caution, I will abstain today, as I do not want my constituents to be concerned that my votes on any of these matters are in any way affected by these outside considerations, so I abstain. And Mr. Chair, if I could please just vote to move to receive and file my form, which includes copies of the subpoenas and the public records request that we received, and my statement from last week.
All right, second from Mr. Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion granted. Mr. Shelby, recognized.
I see that Ms. Johnson Velez is asking to be recognized,
Ms.
Mr. Chairman.
Velez, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Susan Johnson Velez, Legal Department. Just wanted to state for the record on item number 67, file number AB 221-23, that the city attorney's consistent recommendation has been that Mr. Dingfelder recuse himself, consistent with the request from Mr. Loeb, and that is our continued recommendation. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Dingfelder, I see your hand, sir. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the request of staff, legal staff. I've conferred with my attorney, and I'm prepared to vote. I can be fair and impartial, as I have always been with this particular developer's representative. Thank you.
All right, we may proceed. Item 67.
Council, all of the documents related to the amendments that were requested for the special use site plan were delivered to the city. I think that we've addressed all of the issues regarding this matter. To my knowledge, we have no opposition to this, so we respectfully request your approval.
Any questions for the gentleman? All right, anyone on the second floor speak on this item?
No additional speakers, sir.
All right, anybody registered?
No one is registered.
Move to close.
So move.
Mr. Miranda, seconded by Maniscalco. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion granted. Mr. Citro, would you do it for 67, please, sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. File number AB 2-21-23, ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. An ordinance approving a special use permit S2 for alcohol beverage sales, small venue, consumption on premises only, and making lawful sales of beverages regardless of alcohol content, beer, wine, and liquor on that certain lot, plot, or tract located at 2201 North Florida Avenue, Tampa, Florida, as more particularly described in Section 2, providing that all ordinance or parts of ordinance in conflict are repealed, providing an effective date.
Second by Mr. Maniscalco. Roll call.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Carlson, Maniscalco, Vieira, Citro,
Yes.
Miranda, and Goods.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously with Carlson abstaining.
Thank you very much, council. I appreciate your consideration.
Gentlemen, it's 12. I think we can do it in 15 minutes with these last four.
Keep going.
Great. All right. Item number 68.
Thank you, Council. Annie Barnes, Development Coordination. Item number 68 is AB 2-2124. Is an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption for 1515 East 7th Avenue, Suite 101, for special use 2 for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue, beer, wine, and liquor for consumption on premises only. Site plans were dropped off at City Hall yesterday. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Barnes? Do we have an applicant?
Yes, we do. Sean Robinson, representing the applicant.
You may proceed. Be sworn in, Madam Clerk. Ms. Sworn in, sir?
Not yet.
All right, we'll swear you in.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
And again, I'm here to represent the applicant and answer any questions you may have.
All right, any questions for Mr. Robinson? All right, being none, do we have anybody on the second floor for this item?
No additional speakers.
Do we have anyone registered?
No one is registered.
All right, move to close. Mr. Miranda, Mr. Maniscalco, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion granted. Mr. Dingfelder, can you handle number 68 for me, sir?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. In regard to number 68, file AB 2-21-24, I'll move the following ordinance presented for second reading and adoption. An ordinance approving a special use permit S2 for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue, consumption on premises only, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcoholic content, beer, wine, and liquor on that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 1515 East 7th Avenue, Suite 101, Tampa, Florida, as more particularly described in Section 2, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are repealed, providing an effective date.
All right, second by Mr. Miranda. Roll call.
Carlson?
Yes.
Maniscalco? Vieira? Citro?
I did review the recordings of this, and yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Dingfelder?
Yes.
And Goods?
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right, item number 69.
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Yes, sir.
As I stated at first reading, I will be abstaining from this, as this is very close to our property that my wife and I own, and we're within the circle of notice. And I've already provided my notice of recusal, Form 8B, signed and executed to the clerk.
All right. Motion received and filed. Second by Mr. Vieira. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion granted.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Get to the clerk. You got a copy already? Yes, ma'am. Item number 69.
Thank you, Council. Annie Barnes, Development Coordination. Item number 69 is AB 22126. It's an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption for 6500 North Florida Avenue for a special use 2 for alcoholic beverage sales for a restaurant for beer, wine, and liquor on premises consumption only. Site plans were dropped off at City Hall yesterday. I'm available for any questions.
Any question, Ms. Barnes? All right. Do we have an applicant?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of council, Jim Porter with the Ackerman Law Firm, 401 East Jackson Street. We amended the site plan as requested, dealing with hours of operation at the first reading, and I'm here to answer any other questions.
All right. Any questions for the gentleman? All right. Is there anyone on the second floor for this item?
No additional speakers, sir.
Anyone registered for this item?
No one is registered.
Ms. Maniscalco.
Second.
By Mr. Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion granted. Mr. Miranda, number 69, will you please, sir?
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, item 69, file number AB 2-21-26. Ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. An ordinance approving a special use permit SU for alcohol beverage sales, restaurant consumption on premise only, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcohol content, beer, wine, and liquor on that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 6500 North Florida Avenue, Tampa, Florida, more particularly described in Section 2, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinance in conflict or repeal, providing an effective date.
Second by Mr. Maniscalco. Roll call.
Maniscalco? Yes. Vieira? Yes. Citro?
Yes.
Miranda?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
And Goode.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously with Dean Felder
Thank you,
abstaining.
council.
Thank you, sir. Item number 70.
Thank you, Councilor Annie Barnes. Item number 70 is AB 22127. It's being presented for second reading and adoption for 2102 East 4th Avenue for special use 2 for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue, beer, wine, and liquor for consumption on premises and package sales off premises consumption. Site plans were dropped off at City Hall yesterday. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions, Ms. Barnes? Do we have an applicant? Do we have an applicant? All right. Do we have on the second floor to speak on this item?
No speakers on the second floor, sir.
Anyone registered?
No one is registered.
Move to close.
Second.
Ms. Maniscalco, Mr. Miranda, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion granted. Mr. Carlson, you will handle number 74, please, sir?
70, you said, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, I'd like to move AB 22127, ordinance approving a special use permit S2 for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue, consumption on premises, and package sales off premises consumption, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcoholic content, beer, wine, liquor on that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 2102 East 4th Avenue, Tampa, Florida, or more particularly described in Section 2, providing that all
Second.
ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are repealed, providing effective date.
Second by Mr. Miranda. Roll call.
Vieira? Yes. Citro?
I did review the recordings of this proceeding, but the applicant was not here to answer my questions that I had that were not asked during that time. Because of that, I am going to vote no.
Miranda?
Yes.
Dean Felder?
Need you to mute your phone, mute your devices, please.
Great, you already said.
Thank you. We'll continue, Madam Clerk.
Dean Felder?
Yes.
Carlson?
Yes.
Maniscalco? Yes. And Goode.
Yes.
Motion carried with Citro voting no.
All right, item number 71.
Thank you, Council Annie Barnes. Item number 71 is AB 22128. It is an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption for 3225 South McDill Avenue, Suite 123, for special use 2 for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue, beer and wine for consumption on premises, and package sales off premises consumption. Site plans were dropped off at City Hall yesterday. I'm available for any questions if needed.
Any questions? All right, I see the applicant. He swear you in?
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
And can you hear me?
You can hear you. Yes, ma'am.
This is Jamie Mayer from the law firm Hillward Henderson for the applicant. We did revise the site plan per staff comments and also to reflect the limitation on hours of operation that was discussed at the city council hearing on first reading. And so I believe that we have addressed everything and we're available for any questions. Thank you.
Any questions? All right, anyone on the second floor to speak on this item?
No speakers on the second floor.
Anyone registered?
No one is registered.
Move to close. Mr. Maniscalco, Mr. Miranda, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion granted. Mr. Vieira, we're back to you, sir.
I hereby move ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption. The ordinance approving a special use permit for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue, consumption on premises and package sales, off premises consumption, and making lawful the sale of beer and wine at or from that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 3225 South McDill Avenue, Suite 123, Tampa, Florida, as more particularly described in Section 2, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are repealed, providing an effective date.
Second by Mr. Miranda. Roll call.
Citro,
Yes.
Miranda,
Yes.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Maniscalco, Vieira, and Goods.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. Last item, gentlemen, item number 72.
Thank you, Council. Annie Barnes, Development Coordination. Item number 72 is AB 2130. This is an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption for 311 North Rome Avenue for special use 2 for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue, beer, wine, and liquor for consumption on premises and package sales off premises consumption. Site plans were dropped off at City Hall yesterday. I'm available for any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Barnes? All right, do we have an applicant? Okay, I see Mr. Hudson. All right, we'll swear you in, sir.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony that you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, gentlemen. Tyler Hudson, 400 North Ashley Drive. All changes were made between first, second reading now. Appreciate your unanimous support at first reading. Would ask for it again this afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone on the second floor to speak on this item?
No speakers on the second floor.
No one is registered.
All right. Move to close by Maniscalco, second by Mr. Miranda. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion granted. Mr. Maniscalco, you can lead us out, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I have an ordinance being presented for second reading and adoption, ordinance approving a special use permit S2 for alcoholic beverage sales, small venue, consumption on premises, and package sales off premises consumption, and making lawful the sale of beverages regardless of alcoholic content, beer, wine, and liquor on that certain lot, plot, or tract of land located at 311 North Rome Avenue, Tampa, Florida, is more particularly described in Section 2, providing that all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict are repealed, providing an effective date.
Second by Mr. Miranda. Roll call.
Miranda,
Yes.
Dingfelder,
Yes.
Carlson,
Yes.
Maniscalco,
Yes.
Vieira,
Yes.
Citro,
Again, I did watch the recordings of these proceedings, and I am going to vote no.
and Goods.
Yes.
Motion carried with Citro voting no.
All right, gentlemen, it is I have 12:15. We back at 1:30. We are in recess.